Right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sunday night edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. And I tell you, after a performance and a result like that, that might be sooner than I want. We do have a running order. We do have guests. But I think tonight we're just going to talk freely about what's happened and the future of our club. Not surprisingly, there's negative comments about the manager. And I think with another defeat like that, there's no hiding from the fact that discussion has to be had. But without further ado, let me introduce our guests. Don't know if the names are across the screen there, but bottom left-hand corner, AJ, who'll be known to a number of you. Good evening, AJ.
Good evening, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I wish it was a pleasure. I wish it was a pleasure to be broadcasting tonight, but there you go. Top left-hand corner, changing allegiance, the former sloping pitch.
Yes.
To the sheriff himself, one of our admin team. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening. They do not deserve come on you Spurs behind me tonight.
No, we're not doing any banners. We're certainly not doing any singing songs tonight. And of course our founder and our leader, our very own Donald Trump. Good evening, Adrian.
Yeah, good evening. I'm back from the game. Very disappointed in what I saw today. Lots to talk about.
Yeah.
It's always worse when you're actually at the game. It's even worse if it happens at away games, because that's a different thing and you got to travel home. No, not happy at all.
No. AJ, we looked at the results and the prospective results and thought, yeah, if Liverpool beat Aston Villa, if Newcastle beat Nottingham Forest and Arsenal and Chelsea draw, we go third. Only Tottenham can blow it like we did today.
Tell me that we're Spursy without telling me we're Spursy, right? I've got a brother that's a gooner, and I was saying to him, "Oh, you've got a difficult game. You better win that. We're hot on your heels. We'll be ahead of you by the end of the weekend." I absolutely, fully expected us to win. I'm not going to say 4 or 5 nils, but I absolutely, fully expected us to beat Ipswich, and we weren't even at the races. Absolutely ridiculous, unacceptable. But what can we do?
No, what can we do? Let's say before I bring in my admin team and fellow hosts, just say hi to a few of you on the chat. 5 games and it's November. We're yet to play Liverpool, City. We've won successive league games once this season. Adam, good points, and there's a lot of stuff that.
Good points, Adam.
You're absolutely right. We're gonna bring up. Although, funnily enough, people are saying the same about Liverpool, that for all their success, they haven't actually played anybody particularly good. I think, did that come up on your show with Jose this morning, Adrian? I've heard that recently anyway.
What about
Liverpool? Yeah, no, about Liverpool not really having played anyone that good yet.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it got mentioned, but they have actually, because they've played Villa, and they played Chelsea at home, didn't they? Although Chelsea, I thought, were worthy of a draw. They've played. It's just like it's still topsy-turvy. When we get to Christmas, if there's a points gap, we'll know. To me, it's too early for the season, but then I've got a lot more patience than most Spurs fans.
Yeah. Right. Johnny Bethnal Green, good evening, Johnny.
Evening, geezer.
Evening, geezer. Yeah. deflated like a balloon in a drawing pin factory. I couldn't put it better myself, Graham, but good evening to you. Graham saying hi to Johnny. Remove the banner. What's that? The "Come on, you Spurs." Listen, it's taken us weeks to get him to remove his dressing gown, Adam. So, yeah. Good morning, Peter in Melbourne. It's going to be a long day for you, my friend.
No, it won't be. He goes to sleep in a minute. He's probably at work.
4:04 a.m., isn't it?
Yeah, but he's probably at work. He's a paramedic in Australia.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
So he's probably nearly finished.
Mark, Ipswich 1, Spurs 1, Ipswich 2. Let's have your initial thoughts.
Absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. Like, I put 5-1 in Jose's prediction, but like it's getting a joke now. Like, we can beat teams like Aston Villa and Man City at home as well, right? But it comes to playing like a newly promoted team, like Jekyll and Hyde. The team is like Jekyll and Hyde. They're on fire one week, and like the biggest load of pants I've ever seen in my life, like the following week. Like, it's just not. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. To be honest,
Adrian, lack of consistency is the problem.
Definitely.
We're a little bit like the boy in the nursery, aren't we? When we're good, we're very, very good, and when we're bad, we're horrid.
Yeah, lack of consistency. That showed it today. Everyone was happy with the team when I was at the stadium. You know, I mean, it was the team that beat Man City and Villa, so it wasn't the wrong choice of players in one way. I mean, the only thing that strengthens it is a fit VDV, and perhaps maybe even like on another day you might start with Madison Basuma. But apart from that, that team is a team that most people would pick. Our problem is not just consistency, though. It's we go into its defensive frailties as well, which I've got something to say about. But back to you, Ian. Yeah.
Well, come on, AJ, the team you'd have picked.
It was a strong team, especially having rested certain players against Galatasaray, which I was an advocate for. I was like, many group chats were slating Ange and saying, oh, you know, what's he doing? He's not taking the game seriously. And I was of the mindset of any game we can afford to not win, it's that game. We're going to qualify comfortably. We need to focus on the Premier League. Yeah, the Premier League, the cup competitions, the domestic cup competitions are where we need to pay a lot of attention at this particular time. And the team you couldn't argue with. It was a strong, on paper, it's a very strong team. As Adrian just said, most of them, if not all of them, are the teams that have got points against the bigger teams that we played. But it was just an absolutely woeful performance, especially from the defence. The defence, Romero particularly, and Porro, they were horrible today. Absolutely horrid. The only thing we're consistent at is being inconsistent.
Yeah. Before we move on, Bentancur versus Basuma, discipline v creativity. Adrian, I'll bring you in here. I have a worry about our midfield, and I think I've said it on a stream before, that it's a bit like cricket where you play 4 medium-fast bowlers and no spinner or no outright pace. We've got a lot of midfield players that all do the same thing, but we don't have anybody to break between the lines. We don't, and Madison's been a disappointment, have anybody that can play against a low block, play that incisive pass through. And when you lead Basuma out and Bentancur, and I thought Bentancur played really well for most of the game.
I agree.
But you lose something if you lead Basuma out, who's got a little bit of pace over that 5-6 yards that can bring the ball forward.
I don't think Basuma's as quick as Bentancur, but he's quicker on the turn, and he's better at when he's on song, he's better at beating the press. He's very good, and then he can progress you up the field, like what some fans' perception is of a modern day number 6, and he does that. We see that even in second half against Galatasaray, didn't we? During the week, we see what's in him, right? But then it's consistency again. When it works against Man City and Villa, with a lack of creativity, no Maddison, oh, everything's okay. And yet now it didn't work. Oh, we should have started with Basuma or Maddison, which, like, I get it, but then that's down to the manager. Then where I would critique Ange is not, making changes at half time, because to me, I think unless someone's on a yellow card and about to be sent off or something, that's different, or really, really awful. But I would say at least on the hour mark, on 60 minutes, you got to give players half hour on that pitch, I think. So, yeah, and I just think, like, well, I'm sure you're getting to the game, but, like, I think when Maddison come on, he didn't do anything anyway. So, like,
yeah, a couple of people in the chat I think I need to say hi to. Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, big up, Nita.
I'm painkillers today for my tooth. I'm on painkillers for my brain, I think, after today. But yeah, my head hurt even more. Yeah, I totally get that. And a couple of hellos. Oh, Ben. Hi, Ben.
Big up, Ben. Big up, Brian. Spurs GCTV. Nita.
Funnily enough, Ben, we're going to come to this. I don't know how long you can spend with us, but it's exactly the point before when we were backstage that Mark made, and I think it is something that we're going to need.
That's only because that is only because I stole it from Tottenham on Tour's WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. I mean, anyway, AJ, thoughts, a few more thoughts on the game, how we set up. First half in particular, had a lot of the ball, but we always looked vulnerable on the counter again.
I think, to be honest, it was possession for possession's sake. We weren't threatening, and I think that was mainly because we weren't moving the ball anywhere near quick enough. Every time we were moving the ball, it was side to side, and we were just giving Ipswich chance to shuffle. There was nothing threatening. There was nothing dangerous. I thought Sarr was very good. I thought Sarr was our driving force in midfield. He picked that ball up, and whenever he got it, his first thought was to try to drive up the pitch. If he couldn't, he'd get rid of the ball, get into space, want to receive it back, and try again. I thought he was very bright for us. I think where we lost the game was in defence. Our defence they all went to sleep. They all went to sleep, and they're all culpable for the goals. It was just nobody wanted to win that ball. As a defender, that ball comes anywhere near you, you should be doing anything and everything you can to make that ball yours. And they couldn't be bothered. I think I saw Romero already had his Argentina shirt on underneath, ready so he doesn't have to waste time. Do you know what I mean? I think he's already on the plane. Absolutely lazy when it comes to defending, and that's where we lost it. I think, although we weren't exciting, particularly going forwards, we weren't very creative. Had our defence not been so piss poor, I think we still win the game. I think we still would have had chances and created chances. It's the defence going to sleep yet again that cost us big time.
Yeah. It's the system. We play. That high line for life, mate, is a load of nonsense. The high line for life, mate, is a load of nonsense. When we sit back and we play on the counter attack, we look a far better team. A far, far better team. This system that this foolish manager insists on playing is an absolute nonsense.
Mark, the overhead goal he scored, we weren't hit on the counter. Everyone was in the box. It was poor. It was just poor, lackadaisical defending.
The system we play, though, doesn't encourage good defending.
Mark, we haven't been conceding goals because of the high line. And anyone who saw Aston Villa, Liverpool at Aston Villa, when they conceded the first goal, their two so-called holding defenders were 35 yards inside the Liverpool half. And if it hadn't been for Nunes finishing off the chance after Salah had been brought down, they'd have been down to 10 as well. Adrian, you've got a view on this. I think this is a banner that you put up. We seem to be losing a lot of goals from the right-hand side.
We do. That is 12 now. 12 that have been scored in the left-hand side of our
Do you have
goal.
that banner somewhere?
Yeah, I'll if we could
Could
stream
you put
it
it
back.
up? So I'll need
Because
to
I was going to
find
use
it.
this. Yeah, I was going to use it Tuesday, but it doesn't matter. Well, I'll be going over this Tuesday as well.
Yeah.
Let's find the.
Well,
Let me go to the banners.
I think we need to talk about it tonight.
Yeah, we can. No, that's no problem. I don't mind. I don't mind doubling up. Just scrolling through, trying to find it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Today.
Just talk about
Right, okay.
in the
Right, guys,
chat.
those of you in the chat, yeah. 12 time a goal has been scored on the left side of our goal mouth against Leicester, Newcastle, Coventry, Brentford, West Ham, Ferencváros, Brighton, Palace, Villa, Galatasaray, and Ipswich 2 today. Now, this is Porro's side of the pitch, right? Now, I was really critical of Porro when he first came to this team against Leicester and Newcastle, and he was awful in those games, right? Denying it. But I've warmed to him. Technically, he's a very good player. He played as a wing-back for Sporting. But, you know, to me, if you're a defender, whether you're in this system or not, as a wing-back or an inverted full-back, and that my attitude has always been the same. If being a wing-back means you're absolved of defensive responsibilities, I don't want you in my team. I don't want you in my team at all. Now, this cannot be a coincidence when it's happened 12 times. All right, other players might be culpable as well, right? But it's down the right. And today, today it happened twice when, the first goal was when they got in between Johnson and Porro, right, and the overhead kick. And the second goal was when Delap got in between Dragerson and Porro, right? It was a bit unlucky the way it come off of Dragerson for Delap just to finish it off. But Porro keeps coming up all this time. Now, this may be just football coincidence, but I'm beginning to believe, hang about. We're not defending properly here, right? And I just think Porro is being a bit of a weak link at the moment. He's technically a very good footballer, but to me, he's a weak link defensively, you know. And we haven't been playing a suicide. I disagree with Mark, but he knows that anyway. Respectfully, of course. The high line, we've been playing even at the game today, it's 3-4-3, 4-3-3. We haven't been playing with two at the back, you know, gung-ho style football today. Because, to be honest, we were too slow progressing the ball forward to do it anyway, to play gung-ho football. I mean, we had the first chance was when Sonny put the whipped a lovely ball into the box, which Johnson just couldn't get his toe on it, just rolled past the post, you know. And that was it. But I just think it's defensive frailties, and it's not just Porro, it's Dragerson as well. Now, I don't want to cane him too much. He's new. He has to develop an understanding with the centre back. So whether it's with Romero, whether it's VDV, whether it's Davis, he hasn't had enough time to develop proper understanding with those players. But his positional play is questionable. And the thing with Porro and Dragerson, they need to be proactive, not stare at the ball. They need to be proactive, not reactive. They need to fucking get stuck in there, you know.
Mark, I know you're not an Ange man, and I know that you're talking about the system, but is it not fair to say that the goals that we are conceding are down to individual errors rather than the system?
Yes, that is fair. That is fair. But all I will say is what I've been going on about for ages and ages on this channel is the square pegs in round holes. Both Porro and Udogie are wing backs. A wing back's game is to get forward at the pitch. Defend, yes, when needed, but that's not their sole. Well, it's not the sole responsibility in this system, to be honest. I mean, their sole responsibility seems to be playing as number 10s most of the time. But to be honest, to be fair, neither Porro or Udogie are fullbacks. They were both bought for Conte as wingbacks, which is completely different. You know, so yes, Porro is at fault, and to be honest, I'd love Jed Spence to get in there if his attitude's still right, because he seems to have come back with a better attitude. And I'd love to see him get a run out at right back, because let's face it, he can't do much worse than Porro at the moment.
AJ, that's an interesting comment that Mark makes. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but both Udogie and Porro were signed by Paratici under Conte's watch when he was looking for wing backs alongside 3 central defenders. And they're not working out as fullbacks. They are wing backs and need the cover of 3 central defenders behind them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree with Mark. I would like to see Spence given a go because he's strong. He's a lot stronger than Porro is very, very good technically. He's a very good passer of the ball. He can create something out of nothing. You want somebody like that further up the pitch. Defensively, he is out of position often. He's too weak on the ball. Spence, is going to fight for everything. And his attitude was questionable beforehand, but he seems to have come back. He seems to have knuckled down and wants to play for the team now. Give him a chance. Whilst he's there, whilst he's showing worthwhile and he's putting in the effort, give him a chance. But in regards to being signed under Paratici, this is the problem. This is what happens when we are constantly sacking managers 18 months into their tenure. By the time the players have come in, got themselves into the team, established themselves and started playing, that manager's sacked. A new manager comes in with a new style that doesn't suit that player. That player is then happy to try to adapt. He'll never be as good as he was under the system he was bought for. And then you have the square pegs in round holes, don't you? Where you're not doing the job. We need to get you out of the team. We need somebody else in, or do we sack the manager? Do you see what I'm saying? It's just a rinse and repeat situation, and we're always going to be behind. We're always chasing our tails in that respect. We have to identify the players we need for the system we are playing at the time we are playing it, and see it through. Otherwise, this is just going to keep happening.
Adrian, I'm going to bring you in on that point because I think it's such an important point. And it's one that I've made on, in the groups. Mark, you'll be aware of that. AJ, you will too. That you keep changing the manager. It's wash, rinse, repeat constantly. We've had since Poch left in 2019, we've had Mourinho, we've had Nuno, we've had Conte, we've had Ange, plus we've had Mason and I call him Salteri, if you call them half. So 5 managers, 5 years. Yeah, how can you build a football club? Running it like that?
You just can't do it that way, whether you're happy or not. The difference with the Nuno thing and the comparisons with like losing games, I get that. That's a fact by Ben. I respect his opinion on that. But it's more than that. I mean, because you also have to look at the way we played that time during that time, the way we set up and all that. And under Nuno, it was absolutely hopeless, right?
We beat Man City 1-0.
Everyone was unanimous about Nuno having to go. Whereas at the moment, Spurs fans are pissed off, but they're not Ange out, not at all. So even not at a stadium, even though we were all pissed off, I was pissed off. They're not. Just was gutted that we could have really climbed up the table today. Especially with the Chelsea Arsenal draw as well. Which all helps. So we keep getting in positions and we never take advantage of the situation. But no, you can't keep changing managers. And look, and we know, don't we? Even after the transfer window, he's had one season, right? Last year got us 5th, and this season we go into the transfer window. 16 players go out. A lot go out on loan, right? And like you're in a situation now. Now we know we're exposed at left back. We didn't solve that position. We need another quality left back. We know we haven't got a left centre back, right? And we don't know whether Vuskovic, when he comes in January, which wouldn't have helped today because he wouldn't be available. Ashley Phillips or Alfie Dorrington may step up, or whether we got to get one. So we know this squad is far from complete. It's also the youngest squad in the Premier League, barring Chelsea's can actually put out a younger one, I believe, right? And 11 of those players in that 25-man squad are under 24, right? and they're developing. And because they've had a good season last year, it doesn't mean to say they're going to have a good season this year, because young players have always got a mistake in it. I mean, young players do lack consistency throughout a season.
Can I just interject a minute then? And so we built £1 million, a £1 billion stadium to be a developmental team. We were sold. This is what we were told when the stadium opened and it was built, that it was for us to compete with the top teams in the league and compete at the highest level. When is this actually going to happen? This is a question I got.
No, I agree with that. I mean, like, Poch wasn't back for 518 days.
I know he wasn't.
And everyone wanted rid of him. But if you move forward, what we're talking about generally, like, okay, has the squad improved? I believe it's technically better, but it's young. It's young across the board. I believe it's a technically better squad, but there aren't enough oven-ready players in this squad, right? With necessarily the experience. But having said that, the confusing and perplexing thing about today was that was a good team out there. Even if Dragerson was probably the most inexperienced player in it, right? That was a good team out there, and it should have won that game.
Do you just want to answer this before we go
Mark,
on?
I suspect you've put that up. Let's discuss this. AJ, let's bring you back in. We're going to lose Porro. It seems that Real Madrid are more than interested in Porro. Would you be shedding any tears if Porro left for Madrid or anywhere else?
No.
Yeah. He is, when he can be bothered, he's very good. He's very good creatively, and he has worked hard to be better defensively. We know that from his early games when he first signed. He was getting torn apart left, right, and centre. Game in, game out. It was just that he might as well not even have been on the pitch. But he has improved defensively. Lately, again, his defensive abilities have been called into question. If we get decent money for him, I wouldn't be overly upset if he goes. But I don't think he's the only player that Real Madrid have got their eye on, and I don't think he's the only one that has had their mind swayed.
Romero's another one. I think
he's already there. I think he's already been sold. I think he's already, because he just does the difference between Romero in an arch. And I get it. South Americans are very passionate, and you love your country. Okay, I get that. But when the difference is night and day between him in an Argentina shirt and him in a Spurs shirt, a lot of the time he's a class player. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good defender, but a lot of the time he just looks like he cannot be bothered. And I would rather take a lesser player that will run through a brick wall than a player that's got all this possibility, this potential, this ability, and sometimes just phones it in. I'd rather take a Ben Davies, who I know is going to give everything week in, week out and leave it on the pitch, over a player that can't be asked, because every single one of us fans would give everything we have for our football club. If we got on the pitch, we would go to our last breath. The very least we expect from a player that plays for our club, that represents our club, is exactly the same. And if you're not going to do that, I don't care who you are, I'm not upset to lose you.
In my opinion, right, a Spurs defender, right, if I was a Spurs defender, I would not be enjoying this system we play, constantly being left exposed. If I was Porro and Romero, I'd be wishing the summer to come round tomorrow, so I could be on that plane to Madrid. To be honest, because the defenders, they cannot enjoy playing this system. Because defenders pride themselves on clean sheets. It's the same as a goalie. When was the last time we kept a clean sheet? It was probably last week. No, I can't remember.
But we weren't. It's not the system, Mark.
It is the system, Adrian.
It's not the system. It's the players, Mark. It's the defensive frailties by players. It's not the system. We weren't exposed against Man City, even though they pressed us and we sat back. We didn't play a high line.
Exactly.
In
You've
Villa,
just answered your own question.
At Villa, we were more on the front foot. We weren't exposed. Villa are a good team. They've got a good squad, right? So this is where we can juggle our arguments to and against what we actually perceive as what's happening. To me, Porro isn't good defensively. He just isn't. He doesn't even look over his shoulder half the time. He does put some good blocks in now and again, but that isn't good enough. That isn't good enough. His defensive contributions are not good enough. Dragason's come in. Everyone's raved about him for Romania and all that. He did okay. There was errors. I seen Quest's positional play. Against Man United, he played everyone onside for the second goal, right? Now, there's a player in there. I mean, we know there's a player in Porro when he's on blob. He's hot, you know. But, like, Dragason, he's still suspect, right, in my opinion. And these defenders are not proactive. I would rather play Gray at right back because he's got more defensive. He will contribute more defensively than Porro will and all that. He's quick, good in the air, good in the tackle, quick, got good vision, got a pass in him. And I know that the majority of Spurs fans want to see him as a number 6 or in midfield. I get that, right? But he's better defensively than Porro. And he's 18.
Adrian, why is it then, right, if it's not the system that we play, why is it then that we look far more compact and far more threatening going forward when we sit back like we did against Man City, like we did against Aston Villa? Because in them 2 games, we played for some fantastic football and the line was nowhere near as high as it normally is.
That wasn't through choice, Mark. Man City pinned us back because they are that good. We didn't sit back as a tactic. That wasn't tactics. Do you think you want to sit back? Ange, do you think Ange, in any system he plays, he wants to sit back? He hasn't done it.
You're not listening,
Mark, let me say hi to a couple of people in the chat.
Go on.
And it's all right, and I want to bring AJ in. Good evening, Chris Agombar. Welcome along.
Yes. Number 1 Agombar.
Yeah, good. Yeah, absolutely. Lee Richards, 22 points from the last 18 games with 10 defeats in that lot. Things can't be allowed to carry on. I think that's
quite right. Yeah. Quite right. Spot on.
On all the social media platforms, it's Ange out, lads. I'm in camp of I can't be bothered anymore. That's really sad. Nita's point, and I think I want to discuss this as well about playing players in their right positions, and I think I've covered that. Feel free to put your questions in. There was one by
Johnny. It's just above that comment.
Johnny, that one. Let's bring you in on that, AJ. We can't see your face, so I can't see when you're sort of itching at the bit to get in. Where are you on this? You know, we need players in the right position. We need an orthodox right back and left back. And I think I'd go back to the point I made earlier about players that were brought in to play under Conte are not necessarily suitable to play under Ange.
If you play a player out of position, if they might be a workhorse and they might perform poor for you, but they're never going to perform to the same level as somebody who is designated for that. You know, somebody who plays that position week in, week out and has done since playing as an 8-year-old in the park, Sunday league. Like, I don't understand, and I can't understand why Gray constantly gets put out at left back. He's a very good midfielder. Technically, he's a very good midfielder. Surely you would want a player at such a young age, learning their craft, picking up the minutes, playing with your teammates in that position, a position you're going to be playing for years to come. But he's been utilised here, there and everywhere. I think he's been utilised as right back, left back, centre half, and briefly in midfield. I think, James Milner? James Milner was a very good player, but he was an also-ran, wasn't he? He will go anywhere we need him to, he'll do a job. And he was valuable in that sense, but he would never have been drawing the attention from big clubs anywhere else in the world because he's not an exciting player. And you kind of, I think, your career kind of gets forgotten. You get left by the wayside if you're a jack of all trades. Nobody's really going to look at you. You're a filler, aren't you? You're someone to chuck in if there's nobody else around. I think we need to start playing players, quality players, in their preferred positions, in the positions we're going to get most out of them. If it doesn't work, then we can go, the manager's rubbish, the system's flawed. But all the while, we're taking players from here and shoehorning them into that position, and then borrowing one from over there, putting them there. Your compass is all wrong. When you're on a pitch, I used to play as a defensive midfielder. Sometimes in cup games, I used to go up the top, and I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm just hoping the ball hits me and goes in the back of the net. That's not what that's not my skill set. That's not what I'm good at. I'm up the pitch. I'm like, oh my God, your position is all over the place. It's just your radar is completely off. So, yeah, I would like to see Ange start playing players in their correct positions. I don't know why he doesn't. I'm sure somebody with a lot more football knowledge and a lot more expertise will tell me as to why he does that. But I, for the life of me, don't get it.
Well, I heard Archie Gray's going to start in goal in the next European game. That's about the only place he's not played.
I don't have an issue.
Adrian, let's talk. Let's bring you in on this, on the playing players in and out of position, because I think this is a really important point that Johnny made, and not least of which we can talk about Archie Gray all night long, because I've seen Archie Gray. I first saw him at Tynecastle, played at centre half. Next time I saw him, he played at right back.
What players are we actually talking about here? I mean, like Porro or Gray for Porro. Yeah, I get that. Udogie today, after Bentancur and Sarr, I thought he had a good game. I thought he was decent. And Udogie, he's a tank, right? And I don't agree with a lot of the perceptions of Spurs fans last season, saying that, that these players need to play in a back five. I don't like the back five system. So that's just my perception of football. I don't like it, right? But Udogie can play as a wing back, and he can play as an inverted fullback. He doesn't invert. I swear last season he might have got into positions, but he wasn't a solid inverted fullback last season. But he can play at fullback because he's a tank. My concern is on the right-hand side. The right-hand side's a concern for me. And the fact that we haven't got cover at left back, basically, or left centre back, that's a concern as well. So why should we expect that we can get away with it for a whole season when we've got glaring holes in the squad at left centre back, and we've got no cover at sort of like left back? Because Udogie hasn't been in great form. I thought he was getting his mojo back when we won away at 3-0 at Man United. And then he went off the boil again. And then he looked good today. He did actually.
I'm going to bring you on Adrian. I'm going to bring you in on another point as well that Mark made, and I'm going to bring AJ in on that earlier. And it's a fair point that the deal changer, the game changer, was the new stadium, and it was going to enable us to compete with for the best players. We spent 65 million on Solanke, but there's an issue, isn't there, about us playing too many kids, buying too many kids, and not enough seasoned pros. And sometimes the kids just get found out, and that's what happened today.
Yes.
Well, the problem there, Ian, was recruitment, wasn't it? We spent over this is before Ange come in and what he spent, right? We'd spent over rumoured to 600 to 685 million, which was like 137 million a season, on players, right? We had bought in 29 players prior to Ange, right, for that sort of money, which basically tells us that our recruitment was utter crap, right? Most of it. Even getting Lo Celso in, made of glass, Ndombele in, rubbish, right? There too. All right, Sanchez coming in under parts 42 million as well. these guys on top money, and it's not that we don't pay the wages. We're the 5th highest spenders last season. We paid more in wages than Arsenal did their players. Man, that might be, I'll caveat that might be in the fact that we had a bloated squad. See Mark nodding his head.
Shaking my head.
We spent out of our earnings, we spent 252 or 251.1 million in wages last year. Now that's
just
probably
need to stop you, Adrian.
whole wages.
Adrian, I need a quick break. You bring AJ back in on this, and I'll come back. Mark, you want to do the chat as well?
Yeah.
Go on,
I can do that.
Give us your take.
What we're discussing here, the stadium that was meant to pave the way for success and the
Supposedly.
Galacticos that we
Supposedly,
it was
allegedly.
I don't want to drag this discussion down the route of Levy in or out, but for me, there are positives for what he has done for the club, but they are all off field. Yes, he's created revenue streams, and we're a very wealthy club because of it. We're in very good financial standing, but we're a football club first and foremost.
Exactly.
We are in the business of competing in a sporting arena, not an event arena, in a sporting arena, in a sport, the most watched sport in the world, and the aim is to compete and win trophies. We are nowhere near that, and we won't be, regardless of who the manager is. All the while, Levy and co are in control of this football club. That's just my opinion. And everything that man has said and stated about our Tottenham, he's not a Tottenham fan. If he was a Tottenham fan, he would care less about lining his pockets and picking up his bonuses, and he would care more about us winning silverware. I'm not going to, like I said, I don't want to turn it into a rant, but that's my view. That's what I think. And I try to take anything that man says with a pinch of salt, because I'd rather listen to the politicians tell me that, that the country's in the great standing and everything's wonderful. I'd rather believe them than I would believe that man.
Mark,
yeah, exactly.
Mark, so the fact is, like, the stadium has yet to be a game changer.
Well, it's not going to be. It's not going to be, Adrian.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know that.
No, but we've got 5 years of evidence that says it's not going to be.
No,
right? But this is my turn.
But go on.
Right? This is my turn now.
Go on.
Right?
Go on.
5 years ago, when we opened that stadium, it was announced with the announcement, this will allow us to compete with the top teams in the country. And as for you saying the wage bill, right? The wage bill, we pay nowhere near the highest wages. Let's just.
Hold on.
Let's just nip that in the bud immediately.
Bill, right? I said
that was our wage bill, right? And why do you think we sold all of the top earners at the club in the summer?
Well,
right?
One, because apart from
I will tell you the answer. I will tell you the answer. It was to cut the wage bill. Mm-hmm. And so when Amanda Staveley, if she makes this 500, 600 million investment, yes, but she gets less of the club, because instead of 11-12%, she will only end up with 10. Which puts Levy. Levy is not interested in winning trophies whatsoever, right? And the evidence is there with Poch. As soon as Poch started getting us top four regularly, right, season after season, we were finishing in the top four. 518 days later, we didn't even sign a player, right? We didn't even sign a player because we were regulars in the top four. That is all he's interested in, is top four. Get the tills rolling with the Champions League money. For us winning anything, right, if we do actually win anything, that I'd like to before I die, right, if we actually win something, right, it will be in spite of Daniel Levy, not because of him. And that's all I've got to say.
Evening to Jose, El Cockerell. If you want to come on...
has he not got the link?
I sent him the link this afternoon.
Oh, so, all right. I was going to say, if you ain't got the link...
Come on, have you say.
If you want to come on. I mean, trying to keep this away from another Levy out.
Yeah, keep it away from that because it's about
we've had so much of it. Sorry, did you bring AJ on the previous point about players and positions and?
I think we discussed that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
was away for a few minutes.
we did.
Sorry, just because I've come back, but let's just talk a little bit about the game this afternoon. I mean, we were far better in the second half than we were in the first. And sometimes it's fine margins. I mean, that Solanke goal is allowed to stand. We're 2-2 with 20 minutes plus stoppage time to go. I think we go on and win that game.
Prior to that, Ian, if you watch the video, you watch the Brighton defender, not only has he got his arms all around, watch back all his arms around Dragerson if you get
I saw it.
And that to me was a clear, I mean, that's a clear-cut penalty every day a week and twice on Sundays, right? But the referee, he wasn't that hot. Not many referees have been this season, whether it's involving us or not, because people think it's sour grapes. But if you watch the video, that is a foul. Do you remember when Poch was in charge and a penalty was given for infringements in the box? And then we were away at Leicester or something, and all our centre-backs, Alderweireld and Vertonghen, they all stood like a yard off their defenders because they didn't want to give away a foul because they thought this might be a new referee directive. That was definitely a foul on Dragerson in the box, right?
It wasn't a pen. Can you go back to the?
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Was that a pen to the handball? The handball, I think, was outside the box.
His hand was in the box, though.
I'll stick up for Ipswich on that one. That ball was hit so hard. I mean,
yes. Yeah, no. But I'm just saying, his hand.
The hand was the arm was a long way from.
Yes.
The ball. There's two things now. Just for those of you in the chat, I used to be a referee, but it was a while ago, and they do keep changing the law on this. First of all, I think the arm was outside the box, but they didn't show it. If it's outside the box, there's no VAR, so the VAR can't interfere and give a free kick. The other thing I can't help thinking I read, and I haven't got time to look this up and host, was that if the feet are outside the box, but the hand is inside the box.
That's what it was, Ian.
Don't ask me if that's right. It's just something that's ringing a bell there.
That's what it was, Ian. He was stood outside the box, but with his outstretched arm, it was sort of, might have been the way he was facing, or it might have been behind him a little bit.
Yeah.
His arm was definitely in the box when it hit him. But that's only clutching at straws if we want a penalty for that, to be honest.
But I think what I'm alluding to, and I'm certainly not going to be getting in, we were desperately unlucky or anything like that, because we clearly weren't. No. But I think sometimes it's small margins. That ball ricochets off Solanke's arm. When I refereed, so what? It would be a goal. No VAR, the goal's given. It could just as easily have come off his chest, gone in. It's a goal. Small margins. AJ, let's bring you back. I mean, I'm not going to say we were unlucky, but by the same token, we did enough on another day, we win the game, and we're not having this discussion.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I think where we lost it was our defence. I think had the defence had turned up and been focused, we would have had enough to have got. It wouldn't have been pretty, but we'd have won the match. Solanke was unlucky, but it hit his hand. He's hit the ball. It's can't hit his hand and gone in. It's handball. In regards to the Ipswich player, if his hand's over the line, his hand's in the box, and his hand was far enough away from his body. Yes, he was close to the ball. Yes, the ball was hit hard. But the rule is the arm has got to be within your silhouette or in a natural position, while the rest of his body was over here and his arm was outstretched. So for me, I think that should have been a penalty. We didn't deserve it. We didn't put anywhere near enough effort in. It's not like we were robbed, but like you said, small margins. Had that Solanke goal not come off his arm, come off his shoulder, maybe the top of his shoulder, it doesn't get disallowed. We're back in the game, you know, and I hoped the Bentancur goal was going to be enough to lift everybody, and it briefly did, but that soon fizzled out. We weren't at the races today. We were not up for the fight, and we didn't. Pure and simple, we didn't deserve anything from that game.
No, I mean, and I know I'm papering over the cracks, and I'm deliberately papering over the cracks. Just it's small margins. But Adrian, you know, there's 69 minutes Bentancur scores. You know there's going to be a lot of stoppage time because of the time waste. That's maybe something I'll discuss after as well from a refereeing point of view. But there's still 20 minutes to go, and you're looking at, you know, a good 6, 7 minutes even at that point with the time wasted in subs. You know there's going to be more. We had more than enough time to get back into that game, and never mind about draw it, win it.
Yeah, I mean, and Solanke had a great chance, which the keeper saved with his legs, didn't he? When he got through there. I mean, so that would have, if that goes in, you see Ipswich crumble then, because, you know, five draws and 5 losses, and they win against us. You know what I mean? It's embarrassing in one way, you know. But no, we pressed on, we tried, and like you've got the usual, which seems to be fashionable, and we would do it as well. Time wasting tactics to take the pace out of the game, to slow us down. We grafted second half. It just, we huffed and puffed, but like it wasn't enough at the end of the day, was it? I mean, like, did we deserve a draw even? Well, we shot ourselves in the foot with the 2 goals, didn't we? So when you do that, do you deserve anything, really? You know?
Ipswich, I mean, I've seen Ipswich a couple of times. They're a nice side to watch, as you would expect from Kieran McKenna. And in fact, Ipswich, all the time I've been watching football, have always produced nice sides to watch.
Yeah, and just a point on that, without interrupting, Kieran McKenna was the Spurs coach.
Yeah, I know that. And then he went to Man United.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's probably got a big future in the professional game. Are we papering over the cracks, Mark, or were we a bit unlucky?
We weren't unlucky, were we?
Yeah.
No. But let's face it, right? If you play like we did in the first half, especially, you don't deserve anything. And even although every game we play, I cheer us on. And I cheered when we scored and all that. But to be honest, you got to look at it honestly and say we deserve jack out of today's game just for the performance. And to be honest, it was the lack of substitutes as well.
No.
You know, I'm sure you're going to come on to this as well.
Funny enough, it's the next thing I was going to bring up. Well, let's talk while you're on, and then I'll go around the rest of the panel. Those were the substitutes. Werner, then Basuma, but too little, too late. But at the point we brought Werner on, I mean, people say Ange doesn't adapt and doesn't change. We were playing 4-2-4 at that point.
We were. We were, but we had no choice because we were 2 goals behind.
Oh, but hang on, can't have it both ways. The Ange critics say he doesn't change it, and he doesn't. He doesn't change it, and he doesn't adapt his tactics to suit. Now, he makes that. Sorry, that's my fault. He changes Werner for Sarr in 66 minutes. And in 69, he's half the deficit. So, as I say, some of the Ange critics can't always have it both ways.
No, but yes, I accept that he did go whatever system you said we were playing.
4-2-4.
Yeah, 4-2-4. But you look at the other 2. Basuma for Bentancur, Maddison for Johnson, 84 minutes. Right now we were dying for a goal, or we were 2 down at half time, right? Where's taking off one of the holders and putting like Maddison on for the whole of the second half? Because he's meant to be our creative player. Not that he is, but he's allegedly see, this is where my critique of Ange, put it this way, I'd be more than happy for Ange to succeed, but I cannot see it playing his system and his decision making with the substitutes and things like that. if we want to cut this year and we finish 4th in the league, I'd come on here and say, sorry, I was wrong. Ange is a genius. But I just cannot see it. I cannot see it. The system for a start baffles my mind and makes me mad. Right, and it's things like this. Bentancur and Maddison in 84, Maddison 84th minute. I mean, that's ridiculous. Honestly, it's, this
No,
drives
what's
me
the
insane.
system? Explain,
Adrian,
right? What's the system?
Adrian, let me come in just because there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat, and I want to. I think I covered that one. Paul G, good evening, Paul. I don't think I've said evening to you. Adam Harris, bring back Potts. Well, we are going to talk about Ange. We have to talk about Ange. We can't not. I don't want to, but we can't not. But yeah, Johnny's, a few couple of saying hello to each other. But there you go. That's probably the strongest I've heard so far. Ange is a fraud, getting gone.
That wasn't me, by the way. I haven't changed my name and put that in the comments.
Yeah. Because I couldn't stand what you are. Yeah, that's a sad state of affairs. I predicted Ipswich would score 2, but we'd score 3. If those of you are doing, I may as well say now, those of you that are doing Jose's prediction competition, I had it 2-1 to Ipswich today. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. But Angie and I don't want a new manager. Excuse me. My heart needs to go on. Full stop. Let's get used to Ange for now. 11 games in, no worries. Yeah, no cutting edge in the team. Don't have a grab the game by the scruff of the neck type players. Tom, I was sort of alluding to that earlier. So we can change the personnel, but we can't change the way we play. Johnny and Tom exchanging pleasantries. We need more counter-attacking football. Mark, that's very much the sort of thing you've been saying.
Yeah. How much of a different team do we look when we do sit back that 10 yards and then lure the team on and then hit them on the counter? We did it against, we had no choice against Man City, but we did it with Villa as well. And we play like an actual team then. Yeah. And this is what Ange needs to learn. He needs to learn it. No. Because the way we play at the moment drives me insane.
Well, he's going to learn or he's going to go, I think. But
there we go.
Adrian, I will come back to you because I did cut you off in your prime. But Adrian, let's get your take on the substitutions, because there is criticism of Ange that he's too slow to react when it's clear he needs to change things.
The Werner sub was a good sub. Werner came on and was lively. He picked the ball up and he ran at his man. He was putting balls in regularly. The only thing he didn't do was bring his shooting boots, but we're beginning to expect that from Werner. But he was a good addition. However, leaving the next 2 until the 84th minute in a game you're losing, and you haven't really looked like scoring in, leaving them until the 84th minute is not good enough. It's not acceptable. Even if you've got the 8 minutes that we had, that's not enough time. That's more hoping than anything. That's not enough time for a decent player or a couple of decent players to change the game to the degree where you're going to get something from it or even go on to win it. Those subs needed to happen 10 minutes earlier, at the very least. I'm not a fan of making wholesale changes at halftime. I'm not a fan of lumping 3 players on at once, because I think everything gets a little bit disjointed, discombobulated. No one really knows what they're meant to be doing. And you can lose your marker, you can lose your man very easily. But in a match you're trailing at home to a team that haven't won all season, to leave it until the 84th minute to make 2 substitutions, for me, that's. I don't care how much you support a manager. Questions have to be asked.
Adrian, let's bring you in on that.
Well, you have to stick with your manager. We can't keep rinsing and repeating, right? As much as fans, but there's also a different agenda. There are those that their agenda is leave you out. So this is why they'll have a pop at Ange as well. You said it in a previous podcast. I don't know if it was on ours or someone else's.
It's something I've been saying for a while.
Yeah, you've actually believed that there are some fans out there that just want us to fail because they are mainly leave outers, and I think they shouldn't even be Spurs fans. In fact, they're a disgrace to the club. Basically, they're a disgrace to.
Adrian, can I just quickly say one thing? I forgot to say it. I just wanted to say, like, I absolutely appreciate what Mark said a little while ago, because he said, and a lot of people that are Ange out have said, "Oh, Ange out regardless, he's not good enough." Mark said openly, "If we win a trophy, if we finish fourth, I'm quite happy to come on and go, I was wrong." I haven't heard many people say that, so absolute respect to him for that. Like,
I've said it many times.
I respect. Me and Mark have telephone conversations. I respect his opinions.
I've said it many times. I've said it many times, AJ. I've said it many times, AJ. But I do not feel that Ange is the right person to take us to the promised land.
Fair enough. That's an opinion. That's a perspective. That's fair enough. We chat on the phone, Mark. We disagree on other things. We agree on things. That's fine. I won't get involved in a slagging match or abuse, though. With anyone. No. I don't do hate. I do not do hate. I do not stand up at the crowd when they say hate Arsenal, hate Chelsea or West Ham. I do not sing the Sol Campbell song, right? I will not get involved in that. I will not boo my team off the pitch, and the fans did it. And it came echoed from the South Stand today, which I thought was sad. I've watched this team Spurs play for over 60 years, 6 decades. I will never boo the team off the pitch. I will never boo an individual player. While they're there, while managers there and players are there, whether I like them or not, and there's players there that I don't like, right? I'll thank them for their service when they go, because I know the club's always going to be there when they're gone, right? But I'm not getting involved in none of that hate stuff.
And for you to say, just one final thing, Adrian, what you said about, like, most of the people that don't like Ange are the Levy outers, that is complete nonsense. Because,
Mark, I see a distinct correlation between the people that don't want Ange and the people that are Levy out. I see a distinct.
It won't be all of them, Ian. In fairness to Mark, it won't be all of them.
No, not all, but a significant number.
No, but the difference between the Levy out people that I consider myself one of, I have been to protests.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The thing is, we.
So have I.
Yes, I'm not saying you haven't, but we want what is best for Tottenham, the football club, right? Now, if Levy wants to market the team all over the place, NFL, rugby, boxing, go-kart racing, he could have naked mud wrestling in there. I wouldn't care. As long as the stadium's available for the 19 home games and half a dozen or 10 cup games, whatever. But as long as that money that is being made is going back into the football team, which it is not at the moment. This is where I have a problem, right? And it's like, I know it's going backwards from what we were talking about, but this stadium was meant to take us to the top. But unfortunately, it's never going to while that man is at the club.
Mark, we are. I wish I had the figures. I haven't got the numbers to hand, but we are, over the last 3 years, the third highest spenders in football, and I think that's behind Chelsea and Manchester City. We've spent more than Arsenal. We're spending more than Liverpool. Whether we're spending it right, but I think that there's one or two myths that become facts if people repeat them, or lies become facts, and they're not lies in the dishonest sense. They're just untruths. That Levy doesn't spend money. I don't think he spends it that well, but the club is spending money.
Yes, but
and can I make one more quick point? One more quick point, and that is that the money's not going into the club, and I know there's other projects that they're involved with, but it's not going. People say it's not going into Levy's pocket. Levy gets a good salary for a £750 million business, which you'd expect.
The highest salary.
Bonuses, but they don't take dividends, which like the Glazers do and other directors do.
He's on
the highest salary.
Look,
the highest salary out of all the chairmen in the league. Let's just throw that in there.
Yeah, but Mark, let's get a perspective on this, right? Levy's wages are less than some of the players. When Harry Kane was here and Sonny's here, they're on more money than Daniel Levy is, right? So let's park that to one side. I agree with the fact that the main reason since the stadium opened to now is partially, even though we spent a lot of money, is because where Levy is responsible is the fact that, like, he has installed a poor recruitment team into this club, like, that have brought in average players. Like I said, 29 players before Ange came in, and now we've had to get rid of them. We got rid of 16, and the squad's still got holes in it. Right, this is why I'm standing by Ange, and I'm fully Ange in, even after this result, fully Ange in. And anyone thinks Ange is going before the end of this season, like, you're living in cloud cuckoo land. Seriously, it's not happening. The word is sticking with him, and like, we need to get through January and the summer transfer window. I'll judge him on this season because I want to see growth and improvement. But when he's here next year, and he's going to be here next year, mark my words, you can clip this, he's going to be here next year, then, right, then the sword of Damocles is really over his head. Because at the moment, he hasn't got the squad. We cannot cover for the 4 competitions we're in with the squad we've got. We've seen how exposed we are at left back and at left centre back. We're exposed, right? Now, you can say, okay, yeah, let's sack the manager. Yeah, get rid of him because the results have been poor. And if you want to compare his results back with Nuno's, totally different, right? It's a fact. It's a fact, which Ben brought up earlier. Not disputing this fact. That is a fact, right? But you have to look at the situation, the systems that were played under the game when we played away to Arsenal. And even though he won Manager of the Month for his first 3 games, you could really tell he was totally hopeless. But I don't believe Ange's. I quite like the manager as it, and I'm fully Ange in. Not that my perspective counts for anything really, basically, in the Spurs fan base. But I'm fully Ange in, and I will be all season because this squad needs to be upgraded. It needs upgrading.
AJ, let me bring you in on this, and that's Tom's point about we could have got Izzy or Neto instead we got Odebear. Now,
fair point.
Neto, of course, scored an absolute screamer for Chelsea today, but they signed him in the middle of August. It's the middle of November, so that's 3 months, and that's his first goal, and I think his first assist for Chelsea. Now, I know he doesn't play every week, but he's injury prone, and his numbers at the top end of the field for a 60 million player aren't that great.
I was very loud in a lot of the group chats and on a lot of streams saying that I absolutely did not want Neto for that exact reason. Yes, he is a very good footballer when he's fit, but he's rarely ever fit. He costs 60 million. If you pay £60 million for a player that can play a third of the season, that's great. But he might get you goals, he might get you assists. But the second he picks up an injury, you're back to square one. You spent that money, you're paying his wages, and you don't have a player on the pitch. So I didn't want Neto, and he scored 1 goal, I think. I don't even know if he's registered an assist. He's got 1 goal since they signed him. And yeah, he doesn't play every game, but he still plays enough. He still picks up minutes. He still makes appearances. He's had 1 goal so far. How many goals and how much input in our games has Kulusevski had, who plays out wide? That's not where he plays mainly, but he still plays out wide. How many goals has Son, who plays out wide, got for us? How many goals or assists has Werner got? How many goals or assists has Johnson got? Tell me that any of them have got worse figures than Neto. So no, I wouldn't have had Neto, but Eze was there to be done. And
Yeah.
this is my gripe with the chairman and the board. Yes, money is spent, but it's how it's spent. Yes, the total sum of money might be spent. It might be 400 million or whatever. But other clubs will say, we want Declan Rice. How much is he? 105 million. We'll put a down payment of 65 million and then pay the rest. Levy doesn't want to do that. Levy wants to have a pissing competition and drag everyone down and say, we'll give you instalments of 12 million over the next 10 years. And clubs don't want that. If you're selling an asset, you are in the driving seat. We could have got Eze for 60 million quid, and I think 50 million that was up front. Get that done. If he's the player, which apparently he was, we hit earmarked and said, that's our guy, that's our marquee signing, let's go and get him. Then pay the money, put the money down, get that player. We didn't do that. For 60 million quid, 50 million up.
Yeah.
Go on, mate.
Mark. Let me bring Jose in, seeing as
all right.
No. I am a significant fee to be on this program. So welcome, Jose.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah,
it's a pity because
anyway.
I've not heard what you guys have said, but I'd be interested to see what you guys have said. But I'll have to watch back the first hour.
Yeah, I mean we've spoken a lot. I mean, the players not good enough, team not good enough, changes to tactics. A lot of discussion about Ange, and we're going to come back to Ange. We're now talking about the kind of players, because Mark's raised the point a couple of times. That's really what I want to bring you in. That the stadium, we were promised that the stadium was going to be the game changer. And all right, we spent 65 million on Solanke, but most of it, the money we spent last season, has been on young, Bergvall, Gray, Audebert, young up and coming players whose futures are some way ahead, and that wasn't what the club needed. Now,
we've bought more kids than Madonna.
Sorry,
we've bought more kids than Madonna.
Have you been practicing that line all
No, I stole that off of Expressions.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, as I say, Tom raised the point about we could have got Neto and we could have got Eze. For £60 million, I'm saying I wouldn't have touched them. And AJ agrees with me. I wouldn't have touched Neto. Far too injury prone. And you look at his numbers at the top end of the field. He doesn't score enough goals. He doesn't make enough goals. Although he's very pleasing on the eye. Eze, though, is another matter. And one of my complaints is we lack creativity. And I know Adrian's a big fan of Eze, which is why I'm not asking him at the moment. But your own view, Jose, then of the squad development and maybe the players we should have bought, in your opinion, that haven't.
I think there's no hiding from it. I think I've said this from day one. I said last season, right? And I did say that I would make my stance of how I felt at the end of the transfer window. And at the end of the transfer window, in order to save a bit of face, right? Because I didn't want to beat myself up and get depressed by it all. So in the end, I turned around and I said to myself, and I said to everyone that listens to me, we're short. We didn't buy enough players. Our squad is short. In reality, our squad's not just short. It lacks leaders. It doesn't matter what anyone says to me. I've now watched enough games to show it lacks leaders. Today, out there, you needed someone to take right. I didn't go to the game. Adrian, you were there. By the time I got to switch on the game, what I saw, and I might be wrong because I wasn't at the game, what I saw was Tottenham's 11 players all standing there, Solanke facing our goalkeeper, ready to kick off. None of the players were talking to each other. None of the players were saying, come on, or cajoling each other. They're all standing in position, just waiting to kick off without saying anything. And Ipswich were in a huddle. From what I saw from that minute onwards, I thought to myself, this ain't going to go well today. The players are not at it. Straight away, I could see they were just all standing around, waiting for Ipswich to come out of their huddle. And I thought to myself, hold on, this is not right. So, to me, our captain today, he doesn't inspire. People that smile at you don't inspire, right? And that's all he does. Sonny just smiles at you. He doesn't inspire. You know. Then I look around and I think to myself, who else we got as leaders? Romero. If Romero really wanted and his heart was wholeheartedly into this club and everything, Romero would have taken the game of Scotland. He would be rating players, pushing players, and pulling players about and that. I don't see the leaders we've got now. Ange has said himself that he doesn't want to buy leaders. He wants to create leaders. Okay, it's all well and good saying that, but we've been trying to create leaders for the last 15 or 16 months, and we lost today because we didn't have leaders. We lost today.
I disagree, Jose. I mean, like, I've watched.
Adrian, Adrian, do you think they played well today?
Let me answer that. Right, I've experienced Spurs win 14 of their 17 main trophies. Forget Charity Shields, right? And even then, when we had good captains on their side, the other players in those teams that won things did their job, right? To me, right, if you're playing for my club and you need to motivate yourself, you need someone to motivate you on that football field, then get out of my fucking football club. Get out now, because I don't want you, right? Simple as that. Because when we had great leaders in the past, whether it's Mabbott, whether it's Perriman, whether it's Dave Mackay and all that, they were surrounded by good players who went out there determined with a winning mentality, and they did their job. And that was on top of the fact that Mackay would inspire them, or Blanchflower would inspire them, or Perriman would, or Mabbott would, and all that. But they didn't need to tell them other players or cajole them. They led by example, but they didn't have to shout and scream. I mean, Perriman did, because Ozzy Ardiles turned around once and said, Stevie, why are you always shouting, even when he was having a poor game? You know, that was because, like, he was trying to be tactically good on the field, but Blanchflower was like that as well. I'm not having this desperation about leadership. Doesn't work for me. Doesn't mean to say I'm right. It's just my perspective is like, no, you can't motivate yourself on that field. Get out of my football club.
Okay, so how many players need to get out of our club then?
Well, any of those that fans consider
you were there today. You saw the game. I'm going by what you're talking about now, about people not having to, you know.
Well, if you were just saying as a scenario on today's game, Dragerson get out, Porro get out straight away.
Just them two. I thought there was a load of players that didn't play well today.
Well, there might have been players that didn't play well, but if you're saying like,
but they didn't look like they were up for it. Johnson,
right? I thought Bentancur and Sala were the best players. I thought Decky was okay. I thought like there were others okay, but I thought Porro, Dragerson were two of the worst on the pitch today.
To me, we haven't got leaders, Ian. You're asking me the question. We haven't got leaders, and the players today, from what I saw, and as I said, Adrian, you were at the match. All I caught when I finally found the stream to watch it on, all I caught was 11 Tottenham players, all standing, ready to kick off, in position just to kick off, all facing. As I said, Solanke was facing our goals. Ipswich were in a huddle. We waited for them to come out of the huddle, and I didn't see our players. Come on, boys, and talking to each other.
Well, they huddled. They formed their own huddles and did all that.
I'm just saying from what I saw, and to me, I knew straight away. I just thought to myself, this just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right to me, and that was at the start of the game. If I go back to the start of the game, when I saw the lineup, I thought to myself, in the lineup today, I thought, this is before the game starts. This is not hindsight now. I thought to myself that maybe Dragerson wouldn't have played today. He might have played Ben Davies, because Dragerson got absolutely murdered at Galatasaray. I thought Sarr had a poor game in Galatasaray, and that maybe he might have started with Bissouma along with Bentancur. But he didn't. He made them 2 substitutions in the second half, but he didn't make the Davies one, but they could equally have started before the other 2 players. And today, Dragerson, I mean, when Dragerson gets the ball, and it's probably lack of game time, I don't know what it is, but Dragerson, I'm not sold on him, haven't been sold on him since we bought him. When he gets the ball and they play the ball across to each other on the, when they play them diagonal balls, them horizontal balls to each other, I'm always scared that Dragerson's going to mess up on the.
He hasn't got what Dragerson lacks at the moment is, you notice even when VDV's in the team, who's got an understanding with Romero, right? They'll always, when they get the ball, a lot of the time they look to Romero because everything goes to Romero and play it, right? When you've got centre backs that are really confident in the game and a really good top side, right? They don't look to the other centre back. I want to see Dragosin. I want to see VDV press the ball themselves, whether it's left or right, without always looking to Romero all the time, because other teams will know that. Other teams will know that. And Dragosin doesn't do that at the moment. I'm not knocking the youngster. He's 22. He's not had no experience alongside Davis, Romero, VDV. You know, he needs time. You know, Porro's a different aspect. We've conceded 12 goals on the left side of our goal mouth, right, in games. And I was highly critical of him. Technically, he's a very good footballer. Hitting a ball on a volley, a couple of them goals he scored last season, great, you know. Someone mentioned the last 18 games earlier. Hang about, pull your horns in, right, about our results, because we're talking 11 games this season. We're not talking about last season. And we finished 5th last season, right? So when it comes to me, it's lack of consistency and it's defensive frailties, which are our undoing, right?
And the system.
Yeah, Mark.
No, I don't agree with the system. Mark, okay, Mark, fair enough then. What is our system, Mark, this season? What is our system?
Stand on the halfway line, right? Get caught on the with one ball down the side. This is what it has been, right? But
that's not our system. You're talking about the other team.
But as I've said, when we drop back that 10, 15 yards, like we did against Villa, like we did against City, and allow the other team to come on to us and then hit them on the break, look how much more we seem to play as a team.
Question. I said to you, what is the system? Now you're critiquing the system, fair enough. Well, explain what our system is. Explain it.
I did explain. 2 players stood on the halfway line, meant to be the defenders.
That hasn't happened this season at all. Not ever.
Yeah, hang on. But Adrian, 1 minute we're talking about leadership, and then we're suddenly on to systems.
Yeah.
Can I stick with leadership for a minute? Because we talked about systems earlier.
That's why I put the leader up in the back.
You in on this, because there was an interview that Ange gave 2 or 3 weeks ago, which to some extent explains, maybe doesn't justify, but explains his lack of motion on the touchline, that he's trying to build the side, and they're a young side, to take responsibility and leadership on the field themselves, not looking for somebody like Mourinho or Conte to be pointed here, you stand there, you go there. In other words, he's not trying to micromanage players, he's looking for them to find their own solutions.
I understand that, but again, this comes down to the recruitment. As was mentioned probably about 10 minutes ago, the 400 million that we've spent, or whatever the figure was, right? Instead of us buying 5 players at 80 million a pop, right? We'll go out and buy 15 players at 15, 20 million a pop. You know, all right, you're going to get your Solanke thrown in there at 65 and whatever, but we do not see a player. It's like if we'd have wanted Eze in the summer, right? If we really wanted him, we could have got him. He was at the stadium, for God's sakes. You know, and he would have, instead of buying players that walk straight into the team and improve us, we got, now I'm not digging these players out by any means before, like, people start going mad. Like, we bring players like Bergvall and Gray into the team, 2 18-year-olds, right? Now, fair play to them. They might be world class. They may be world class, right? But they're not world class at the moment. We want players that walk into our team, whatever position they come in. Say we buy a left back. We need players that to come into this team, right? Say we buy a left back that's going to say to you, Dodgy, right, your shirt's mine now, and it's up to you to get it back off me. We haven't, apart from Solanke, because we never had a number 9. Well, we got Richarlison, but his name's Rich Injardson. You know, but like, you know, we have not brought a single player in that says, right, that shirt's mine. You know, it's always, let's buy him for the future. Let's buy him for the future. And is that why we really built this £1 billion stadium? It's mystifying. It's mystifying.
Ange, I know you were here before on this, but you know, if we're going into the window, what sort of player do we need? Because you know there is a lack of direction on the field, particularly when we go a goal down. And there's a statistic from David Clark there. Evening, David. If I haven't said good evening to you already, conceding the first goal in 15 of the last 17 games. I mean, at some point, something has to give if you do that. AJ, you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm here. I think we went too far the other way. You need to have players that are ready to make the first team players fight. When they see youngsters, and unless you're something special, unless you are a generational talent, unless you are gifted beyond belief, very, very rarely is a teenager going to get on the pitch and nail down a first team place. Especially upsetting a first team regular, a senior player. So these players, it's Son last season when he had, I think, 5, 6, 7 games where he had no input in the game at all. He got benched and then came on, I think it was against Leicester, was it? And scored a hat-trick? Was it against Leicester? Do you remember that game? Was it Leicester he did that against? He came on as a substitute and I think he scored.
He did.
Yeah. And had he not been benched and humbled, these players get an easy ride. It's okay, turn up, get on the pitch, put in a shift of sorts, get your paycheck, job done. You need to fight for the right, the honour to wear the badge on your shirt, right? We are Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. It doesn't matter who the owner is, who the chairman is, who the manager is. They all come and go. The players come and go. The crest on the front, the badge on the front of the shirt will always mean more than the name on the back of it. It's a privilege to play for this club, so treat it as such. When these players get an easy ride and they can see, I've got an 18-year-old that might take my place in about 3 years' time, why are you going to be busting your gut to put in an effort to You don't have to. You're going to phone it in. We should be recruiting as well as going, he's a really talented youngster. All the data, all the eye tests have said that he's going to be something special. Let's get him in, but let's build a squad. Let's have him in, but let's have someone else that's going to challenge Maddison. Yeah, so it's not down to Bergvall to get on the pitch and try to get rid of Maddison out of it. Strengthen the team. Then have the youngsters come in and learn off of the players that are there, off of the squad, rather than chucking them in at the deep end and hoping that they're going to swim. Like Ange has said that, he's trying to build a philosophy where, they, instead of micromanaging, they're taking it upon themselves, they're leading, they're fighting. You still have to have some sort of input. You can't just stand there on the touchline and not say anything. You can't be statuesque. You still need to direct everybody. There is nobody that does any job in the world who is just left to it and is not critiqued, who doesn't have what are they called? I can't remember what they're called. You sit down with the big boss man and he tells you what you're doing wrong and how to do it and how to improve yourself. Everybody does that, right? Everybody learns. You're always learning throughout life. Football's no different. So I don't like that kind of leave them to it attitude, but you need to have these youngsters around seasoned professionals that are playing at the top of their game, and I don't think we have enough of them.
AJ, I've got my issue with like motivation, leadership, things like that. I mean, I know others disagree with me in the chat. That's fair enough. I respect your opinions. Doesn't mean to say I'm right and you're wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right. But like, I've always felt uncomfortable when you get the angle. We're playing an North London derby. The Spurs players, we're at home. Spurs players will be really up for it. Well, why aren't we really up for it for every game?
Absolutely agree.
Why aren't we really up for it for then? Why is it that like, okay, it's a London derby, we're up for the London derby because like they're our rivals? This is what's always stuck in my craw for decades, right?
I absolutely agree.
It's like a lazy attitude. It's like, or an arrogant attitude. Oh, it might be like when Alex Ferguson said, "Oh, it's Tottenham," and he was right at the time, right? But like, what today was it? Oh, it's Ipswich. You know what I mean? We'd just be, you know, we'll beat these anyway. Like, you know, the sort of arrogance that goes with it. I mean, like
complacency.
Yeah, to me, it's not systems; it's inconsistency and defensive frailties. I've said it earlier in the post, and I'm sticking with that. It's not the system. You can play any system you want. If you haven't got the players you've got, don't make no difference, right? If you ain't got the players that want to win, doesn't make no difference what system you play, right?
For me, our inconsistency shows it's not the system, because some games it literally is up and down, peaks and troughs. Some games we're really good. We're on it. We're at the races. Like we're on the front foot. We're creating chance after chance. We're smothering teams. Other games, it's like, I don't know, they've all been drugged or they're half asleep and they haven't got off the coach. They can't be bothered, you know. And it is literally one game's great, the next is our inconsistency tells me, because some points it looks like they're down tools and they don't want to play, and then others they look like they'll run through a brick wall for the manager. So if it was the fact that the system was terrible and didn't work, we would be getting absolutely slapped up every single week. But that's not happening. We're actually matching the teams that are on paper better teams. And I think a lot of the reason why we're finding it hard and we're coming unstuck against the smaller teams is complacency, is ego, is, it's only Ipswich, it's only Crystal Palace. And look what's happened. Both recorded their first wins of the season against us, teams that we should be putting to bed. So the attitude, that needs to change. And if our youngsters are around that and learning from that, that's not a good thing.
Yeah. Jose, let me bring you in on something, because there's some really, really good points being made by the panel. But the one thing I'm really critical of Levy about is his inability to make any sort of communication. It's almost like the royal family. Don't complain, don't explain. And I don't think that helps him, because at the end of the day, the board may, the club, he may own the football club. But at the end of the day, the board and the owners are custodians of something that's ours. We're not a supermarket. We're not a commodity. It's a football club. But if the plan is to buy young players, the best young players of their generation, and this young Croatian centre-half is meant to be something else as well.
Vuskovic.
There's another kid who scored twice from the halfway line already at 16, and they're talking about
William.
If the plan, so let me make this point, because I want to bring Jose in. He hasn't spoken for a while. If the plan is to develop some of the best young players, and over 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it is, to get yourself to the point where instead of buying 6 players for £100 million, you're actually developing the very best. Surely we need to be told that if we're not going to go out and buy those players, because the plan, what Levy promised was the stadium was the game changer. And for me, the game changer is we're going to go out and compete with the Arsenals, the Chelsea, the Liverpools, and the Manchester Cities for the very, very best players.
Right. So there's loads of questions. There's loads of answers to what you just said.
Yeah,
right?
I know. I put a lot of
yeah.
There.
So for me, first and foremost, why should Levy come out and say anything at all?
Sorry, should Levy what?
Why should Levy come out and say anything at all? Because if he comes out and talks, right, who's going to believe what he has to say? Because he's told us a whole pack of lies in the past already. You can't believe anything he's told us already. So if he comes out and talks to us, right, no, you're not going to believe what he's saying, because it was, right, we are going to build a new stadium. It is going to bring in the money, the revenue will be spent on the first thing, blah, blah. Listen, look at I don't have to show you the league table, but you look at teams like, you look at Brighton, how much money they spent compared to us. Then you look at teams in and around us. You look at Fulham. They don't spend. They don't get the revenues that we get. Forest don't get the revenues we get. I could start looking at loads of teams in the Premiership. They don't get
Brighton being the best example, Jose.
Yeah, but Forest don't get the revenues we get. Neither do Fulham. And these teams are all above us. Thomas Frank does a job for Brentford. season in, season out. They don't get the revenues that we get. So it doesn't matter what Levy comes out and says. Levy's already lost out on the fact that he said, going to build a new stadium. And once we've done that, we're going to compete. We're going to do the X, Y, and Z. Now, I appreciate that we need to pay the stadium off. We have got the stadium on favourable terms. So therefore, it's not as if we have to break the bank every season when we're paying the stadium off. So we should have money to buy players. So that's one thing. Another thing, when he goes, we're going to get our Tottenham back, and then he brings in Nuno Espirito Santo. We're going to be the Tottenham way. We're going to get our Tottenham back, and brings Nuno in. Who is going to believe anything that Levy says if he comes out and speaks to the public? No one's going to believe a word he's got to say. So for that reason, I'm kiboshing to the side, because I don't think it's worth him talking. I've just been on another show, right? And I was talking there. They were talking about Ange. Is Ange going to be? Is it in out Ange as the players? Has he lost the players and stuff like that? And I turned around and said, Ange's decision whether he remains at the club or not is down to the board. It's not down to the players. It'll be down to the board. The board will decide whether they want to keep Ange or not. And to be quite honest, we don't have anybody on the board that's qualified through football. They're all businessmen. None of them are qualified through football. Hence why we have gone through so many managers and football directors, because none of them are football people at the top. So we could be having a bad run of form or a good run of form. The people at the top haven't got a clue, right?
Can I just jump in, Jose?
Let me just finish. I'm going to just finish his point off, and then you can jump, right? Then the other thing is when you're looking at the youngsters, I tell you now, right, all these youngsters that we've got, you said 7 or 8 years, Ian.
Yeah.
I don't believe that most of these players will be with us in 7 or 8 years' time. I think that if we're nurturing players or whatever, we'll either move them on, but they won't be playing for Tottenham to win things. We'll be moving them on. It's all about the money.
It's all about the money.
Of course,
it's all about the money. We're not going to be. They're not going to be playing.
Academies have to pay for themselves.
Yeah, but even the players that we buy, Adrian, even the players we've bought, the youngsters we bought, they won't be with us in 7 or 8 years' time. Because to be with us in 7 or 8 years' time, we have to be successful on the pitch. And by being successful on the pitch, we're talking about winning things. And to be honest, today, from what I saw today, I'm scratching my head. I know that we're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao. I know that we're still in the Europa, but I'm scratching my head and thinking to myself, are we any nearer to getting to these trophies with what I saw today? If you lack passion, you lack leadership. Today was awful. And you can't keep having days like this. We had a day like that against Coventry. We had a day like that against Crystal Palace. We had a day like that against Galatasaray. We had another day today, a second night against Brighton. It's far too often. We haven't played that many games this season. So it's far too often this happens. We need to find consistency, right? And at the end of the day, when you're buying youngsters, you're buying your Grays, your Bergvals. You've got Mikey Moore coming through. You've got Vuskovic coming. I'm going to say you've got Dragusin. You've got Sarr. You've got a load of young players. But you're buying young players to come in to be nurtured by leaders or by seasoned pros. Our seasoned pros don't turn up. What are youngsters going to learn from it? And when you got people like Mikey Moore, right? God bless him. I know he's only young, but when he sees that Werner's getting selected ahead of him, what's Mikey Moore going to think to himself? Well, why should I try my guts out in training that, because they're going to pick Werner anyway? Bergvall, I don't even know what's happened to Bergvall, but today off the subs bench he made 3 substitutions. Did any of our youngsters get on? We needed goals. Even if you had to change the system up, we had Lancashire on the bench. We needed goals. He didn't go to none of the youngsters for it. So to me, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I just think there's a load of crap that's going on. We're told one thing, we're doing another, and I think we're just at a bit 6s and 7s at the moment in what we're saying and what we're actually doing, or 6s and 7s. The question I did have, I've got a question for you afterwards, Adrian, because he was at the game today. But Mark, you were going to pipe in.
Yeah. No, the only thing I was going to jump in with is you was on about Ange, and that the thing is with Ange, right? When things get uncomfortable, if the crowd turn and they start singing the Levy Out songs and all that, like what happened with Conte and Mourinho and Nuno and all that, as soon as there's the rumblings of we want Levy out in the stadium, he will make Ange the fall guy and he will be gone. As soon as that happens, mark my words, because there's a history of these things. The manager at Tottenham is irrelevant. He is just is just a shield for Levy.
Let's talk about Ange.
Well, that's the question I was going to ask Ian. Sorry, that's the
You're going
question.
to ask me?
No, I was going to ask Adrian, and I think it's important because
I think
I think he's
Adrian's
gone
disappeared for a
toilet.
bit.
He's
okay,
gone
right.
toilet, was that?
I'm not going to give it away, but I was on another channel and I asked a question of someone that was at the game today, and I asked the same question that I want to ask Adrian, because Adrian obviously sits in a different part of the stadium and that, and I got the answer from someone that was at the game today, and I want to ask, Adrian the same question I asked this other fella on the other program, because that will be telling. Because I went to the Everton game and I asked the same question at the Everton game, and I got answers from people that don't follow social media and stuff like that. But I just wanted to see what people were like today at the stadium. But I'll ask that when Adrian's back.
Adrian, are you there?
I'll be back in 2 minutes myself.
Okay, well, this is going to be fun. AJ, are you there?
I'm here, sir.
He's still here. Because I was gonna,
It's all about Ange. It is about Ange.
Talking about Ange,
And that's what my question is, Ian. It will be about Ange.
Okay. I've got to do some filling. Right. With his going to play a record by the Four Tops. No. It's the best I can do. Let's think of something we can.
No, we can discuss Ange between ourselves, but I'll still ask Ian, Adrian after.
Well, go on then.
Because you was going to ask AJ though. What was you going to ask AJ about Ange?
Go on, you ask AJ. I'm happy you.
No,
you
I said I was going to ask Adrian when he's back. So you carry on with AJ if you want with your question, whatever it's going to be. I lost you.
Sorry, I've you dropped out there. Sorry, I thought you were going to ask AJ the question.
Adrian, I was going to ask Adrian about Ange, but you're going to ask a question about Ange. I said ask it to AJ.
Oh well, no, because I'm gonna do this with the chat and get
Okay.
When the guys are both back. They both picked a really bad time to go because I was simply going to say we're going to have a debate whether it's Ange in or whether it's Ange out.
And that was my question. My question to Adrian was going to be: he was at the stadium today. What was the feeling amongst the people in the stadium? Because what we gauge on social media, right? I found, and I know that what we gauge on social media is totally different to what the crowd feels and the fans feel. When I went to the Everton game, I asked the question of the people that are not social media followers and stuff. I asked them in the stadium, what did they feel about Ange? Were they in, outers? What did they feel? And overwhelmingly, I got the Ange in from everyone. And I just wanted to see.
Oh,
what,
go
what
on.
it was like
You take
Adrian.
us around the table. I mean, I think this is the same. You're going to ask Adrian the question, Jose, but I find it's the same with Levy. That if you're on social media and you think 60% of the fans want Levy to sling his hook and go, you go to the stadium and it just doesn't seem to be a question that other than a small vocal minority are interested in. But you ask Adrian. And AJ, you were at the game as well, I take it. Oh, this is good. Everybody wants to go to the toilet at the same time.
Adrian was at the game, right?
Yeah.
Adrian, what I'm asking
I'm going to shut a window.
Okay. What I'm asking you, Adrian, is...
Jose, ask Adrian.
Yeah. He wants to know... I think the question that he's going to ask now of all of us is about Ange in or Ange out. But what I'm going to ask you, Adrian, you was at the game today. What was your feeling with the crowd about Ange out or in or out? Or was there any feeling?
There wasn't...
The people around you, the people that sit around you and that,
Yeah.
is there any feeling?
Yeah, no, there wasn't any Ange out or nothing like that. But the crowd did boo the team off of half time and at full time, mainly from the south stand, right, which is where you expect the echo to come from. But that was probably just on performance. There wasn't no sort of coming out, chatting to a couple of people. Wasn't that. It's just like, oh, shit, we could have gone third. Everyone very disappointed. I was gutted as well. I mean, it's nothing worse when you're at the game and you lose. But nah, there wasn't. It's not an Ange out thing. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, like, fans have different perspectives, don't they? come at the club at different angles. I mean, like, look, we're in 3 cups. The FA Cup doesn't start till the 10th and 11th of January. We're in the Europa League. We've got the, you know, if we were to go out against Man United on the 19th of December, Thursday, I mean, like, that might cause a reaction. As long as we're in a chance of winning something, I think the fan base will be firmly behind the manager.
Right. So I asked someone on a different channel, and they said that at the game today, from where they were at, there was a lot of the Levy chants were going up. There was a lot of booing. Levy songs or Levy chants, I said, and there's a lot of booing. And the people that they spoke to around their area where they sit and that, a lot of the people were saying they're losing it with Ange, or they've lost it with Ange.
They've lost what? Sorry,
I'll be honest. I heard booing right at half time and full time. I'll be totally honest. No Ange out whatsoever. Now, there was none. And I'm high up on the east stand, very close to the south stand. There was none of that, right?
I'm talking about the group of people that you sit with, or when you're walking around the stadium after the game and that. Could you hear anyone? Was there any discussions like that? No.
No.
Okay. Right.
No, there wasn't. I mean, fans were subdued. They were just walking away from the game quietly after any loss. There was none of that. I mean, I didn't hear any Ange out at all. And I'm being perfectly honest here, none whatsoever. You know, I think if anything, fans were subdued, more pissed off with the team performance than they were with the manager. I mean,
Maybe you've got to stop wearing blinkers on your ears, Adrian.
Oh, Mark, don't come.
No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking, Ange.
Right?
I'm only joking, Adrian.
You're better than that, right?
I'm only joking, Adrian.
I don't lie to people, right? I don't lie to people. I'm telling you as it is. When it comes out the stadium, there was none of that, right? There was no mention of Ange whatsoever. When the team went off at half time, they booed. Why are they booing? The team 2-0 down, right? I didn't boo. I never boo the team. I never boo the managers. I never boo any players, right? If and when they leave the club, thank you for your service. Goodbye. I don't go down the hate road at all. I don't stand up when they say stand up if you hate Arsenal, Chelsea, or you know, West Ham. You know, I don't sing the Sol Campbell song. You know, I just don't go there with any of that crap, right? It's immature, and that's basically it. It's immature, right? But there was none of that Ange stuff. Fans were actually, I was very disappointed. Like, who wouldn't be? We've lost a game. You know, I'm always disappointed when we lose a game. But it wasn't. No, there was no Ange out at all. I mean, social media is so detached from reality when it comes to what happens at the stadium. You know, and even those involved in social media that have got a different agenda, they would like to think it is in line with them, but it isn't. It's far removed from them.
Sorry. AJ, we've got one in from Ange in from Adrian. Where do you stand on it?
I get that it's a very polarizing topic. Some people are fans of the way he plays, it's exciting, it's front-footed when it works, right? And others are like, oh, it's suicidal football, and you know, we keep conceding, we're not beating teams we should be beating. I totally understand both points of view, and the way I see it is, if you are Ange, then you're Ange, you support the manager. That's your preference. If you're Ange out, that's also your preference. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. It's your personal preference. Where I fall on it is this. At some point, whether it's Ange, whether it's the next manager, whether it's 5 managers' time, at some point, the manager is going to have to be backed. They are going to have to be given a contract for 4 or 5 years, and they are going to have to be allowed to build and implement their system, their style, and it will be painful, and it will we'll go through a lot of defeats and embarrassments. It will happen, right? At some point, this hiring a manager every 18 months has got to stop, because it does not work. We have tried it time and time again, and it has not worked. The definition of insanity, the definition of crazy and madness, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. At some point, regardless of who the manager is, we have to back them and let them see it through. Until that happens, we are going to be falling further and further and further down the pecking order, further and further behind, because whilst other teams like City, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal are still at that high level, you've got teams like Aston Villa, Newcastle, and Brighton that are coming up and are not only catching us, but they're on our level, if not superseding us. So we need to stick or twist, right? Either way, we get rid of Ange and get the next manager in, but we stick with him, or we stick with Ange. But we have to do it sooner rather than later. All this chopping and changing does not work.
Mark?
No, I think you know. I think you know where I stand on the issue of Ange. Now, do I want him to succeed? Yes, I do. Do I think he's going to succeed? Not a chance in hell. First reason is he's arrogant. He's arrogant. He come out at the start of the season and said, you know, factually, mind. He said factually, I win trophies in my second season, right? And last season he was saying about a title charge this season. If he just shut up, right, and learnt, as I've said 2 or 3 times on this show, when we sit back that 10, 15 yards, and hit and allow the other team to come onto us and then hit them on the break, we play a darn sight better. If he would, maybe his battery ran out. If he would learn to adapt and play sensibly and realize when problems, instead of waiting till 84 minutes now today to make substitutes and all that, I'd be right behind him. But to be honest with you, I do not think he is the man that's going to lead us to the promised land. I honestly don't.
So you're Ange out.
I'd put it this way, right? If a certain manager was available, I'd get rid of Ange tomorrow and I'd bring Poch back immediately, because we played the same sort of football under Poch, but we had defensive solidity at the same time. Because Poch knew what he was doing.
Jose, you here?
Yeah, sorry. I support.
You put the question to others. I'm putting it back to you. Then I'll have my say, and then we'll talk about if Ange goes, who we might want to bring in, and then I think we'll call it a wrap.
Right. I want Ange to succeed. I always have done, and I always wanted him to succeed. But you know, some of the things that he says are taken out of context, and I appreciate that. But what he said today after the game, right? And these were his words. Now, whether he
I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen this yet, Jose. So you can enlighten me.
Whether he could have worded this.
Jose, just while you're looking that up, Ben, I'll trump that. I'll give you Norwich at home in the FA Cup when they were in the Championship under Mourinho. I think that was against a very ordinary side. We never looked like winning a cup tie. We got beat on penalties.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the one on penalties?
We were atrocious that night. Atrocious. I mean,
and Zagreb under Mourinho.
Probably when you weren't in. Solanke's goal counts. There's a couple of little bits, maybe a handball. You get a little bit of luck. You maybe go on and win the game. I'm not saying we deserve to, but that game against Norwich, we never came close. That's one that comes to mind. Jose, anyway, go on. Let's see you finish this off.
Right. So I'm in for. I want Ange to succeed, right? And I've never said anything different. But when you look, and this is straight after the game when he was interviewed, this is what he said. Ange Postecoglou's Spurs' inconsistency, right? It's been recorded, but the Spurs Express tagged it straight away. He said, these are his words, "That's down to me. That's my responsibility.
Yeah.
The inconsistencies we're having this year, ultimately, it comes down to me and my approach. And it's something that I need to try and fix and see if I can help the players in that area. I need to try and see if I can help the players in that area.
That's his bloody job in the first place.
I'm just like, these are his words. And I just get, when he said that today, I was completely lost. At the end of the
Clueless.
day, I was lost. At the end of the day, right? I'm not in agreement. The thing that we've got to realise, right, is Tottenham Hotspur ain't a football club anymore. We want it to be a football club, right? And yeah, Adrian, you go to the games. We all watch the games, and sometimes we get to go to the games. And we go because that's what we love. We love to see the people wearing our shirts playing that game of football, right? But in all honesty, when you have people that are not football people at the top, then how can they challenge anything that's going on football-wise in the club? Because they haven't got a clue. They can tell you about your spreadsheets, and this is all honesty. They can tell you about the spreadsheets and everything, but they can't tell you about the football. They wouldn't know when it's the right time to get rid of a manager or when it's not the right time. They don't know because they haven't got a clue about footballing decisions. And at the end of the day, some people are saying that Ange has lost some of the players. Some of the people are saying that Madison and Ange have fallen out. Now, I don't think it's fallen out. I just think that Madders is not happy. He's not starting. But then if Madders looks at his own performances, he can see why he's not starting. He can see that why Kulu is playing in front of him. And as a good professional, if he's a good professional, he will knuckle down and try and make his way back into the first team. But you can't have. I mean, I've always said that I'm so comfortable when we play at home. I don't fear anyone when we play at home. Well, I'll tell you what, and I said today on the show, Dr. Tottenham has taken a Sunday off today. I said that this morning. Dr. Tottenham's taken a Sunday off. He's not working today. Fuck it, how wrong was I? That was today's performance. It's just, there was no oomph. There was nothing. Even when we were 2-0 down at half time, I think we had fizz for the first 5 minutes of the second half. And then after that, from the fizz of the first 5 minutes, we went downhill again. And something is fundamentally wrong. Do the players not like the tactics that Ange is implementing?
Yeah.
Is it Ange that's actually doing the coaching of these players? Because Ange might talk to these players, and we don't get to see any of this. Is it his coaches that do all the coaching, and all that Ange does is he oversees what the coaches are doing, and then he might nip in with something here and there. We don't know, but to come out and be Jekyll and Hyde. If we look at our victories and losses this year, it is appalling. It is poor. We're 10th in the league. It's poor. We've got 5 losses so far, and the only teams that have lost more than us
So,
are the 3 teams
okay.
at the bottom, right? So at the end of the day, something's not right because we're not putting consistent performances in there. Now,
Right. So why is that, Jose?
I'm all for what Ian said as well earlier. Ian said as part of the question, that he's adding that he wants to see someone given the tenure to go through and see the job through. And that's where I'm at the moment. I want to see him see the job through. And there's going to be some painful times. But, with the squad that we've got, I'm not going to tell you we're going to win the league with the squad we've got. But with the squad we've got, we should be getting a better tune out of these players. And we should be picking up more points than what we've had. And on what we've got, we should do. I'm not telling you that we're going to be world beaters. I ain't saying that for 1 minute. But I still believe that we should be picking up more points than what we have at the moment. And some of the inferior performances, for me, Coventry wasn't acceptable. It wasn't acceptable. We got through, but it was not acceptable. The game against Galatasaray for 1 hour, of that game, I didn't know I didn't even know it was meant to be a football match. We were so open. So, there's some games that are just not acceptable. Now, is that on the manager? Is that on the players? If it's on the players, then make your changes. Rotate your teams. Pick your team because your players have let you down. Bring other players in. So, for me, the fact that we're not seeing your Lancashires, you're not seeing your Lancashires, you're not seeing Ben Davis, you're not seeing more of these players start in league games. It means that he must be condoning the previous performance because he's picking the players again week in, week out. We need to change something. If you're going to have players to win games, they've got to be wanting to play for the club. They want to play with a badge. And to me, there is something that's just not there. I can't say it's him, her. There's just something missing. There's a disconnect there between our performances and with the manager. I mean, today, I get that we haven't got Odebert, Richarlison, and the other player, Mikey Moore. So, but today for the substitutions up front, people were going to say to me he could have brought Lancashire Werner on, and some people are saying he could have brought Maddison on and played Maddison in a forward three rather than in midfield. But the fact that he only made 2 substitutions, when at half time I could see the problems already at half time.
All right. So we are where we are with the squad we've got, right?
Yeah.
So why are we so inconsistent? Why are we so inconsistent then? Because we've only got the players we've got to pick. So why are we so inconsistent?
That's what I said to you, Adrian. I don't know if it's. I don't know. I can't pinpoint somebody's fault, but the players certainly are not turning up for some of these games.
True.
The inconsistency comes from the players, but then also as well, the manager has a role to play in making changes. You move your pawns around as you see throughout the game. Now, before the game started, when I saw the lineup, I was on We Are Tottenham TV in the pump up, and I turned around and said, before the lineup came up, then I saw the lineup and I said to them, well, for me, I'm quite surprised Dragason's playing, because Dragusin got absolutely murdered against Galatasaray. I thought Ben Davis might have started with Romero.
Yeah, I did too.
And then Papsar in the game against Galatasaray, Papsar's had 2 really good games at Tottenham on the spin, and against Galatasaray, I thought he was off the ball and he was completely out of the game against Galatasaray.
Played well today, though.
I felt when they put Bentancur and Basuma together for the last half hour, I thought we were a lot stronger. So I would have started Biss today instead of Sarr. Now at half time, I was thinking to myself, bring Sarr off, bring Biss on for him, and take Sonny off. And God forbid, but I'm saying bring Werner on. Just take Sonny off.
Well, I said to the guy next to me at half time, I said, look, we need to go for it now. It's only because we were 2 goals down that I said this. I said, Sarr needs to be sacrificed here because we need to be able to try and get a hold in this game. We might as well lose 3 or 4-0 as try and get something back out of this game. And as he did take Sarr off, right, which I understood, but like the first half performance was, right, let's be fair, it was rubbish. And I just thought, well, I was trying to fathom out like whether, okay, I get you don't need to go hell for leather or gung ho in the first because you're not losing the game. It's 0-0. You can try and create something, make something happen, right? And we've seen it before with Spurs. We've come from 9 times before when we've been a goal behind under Ange and gone on actually won games, right? But this time we were 2 goals behind, which was a bridge too far. But like, I just couldn't help thinking then, like, well, this hasn't worked. Why is it that in so many of these games we ain't come out on the front foot, quick, slick, interactive passings when we're at our best? Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing this? You'd think that was a precursor of Ange ball. The way we start the game, that is not Ange ball, right? That's not. It's slow. And people criticise Romero, and actually Romero wasn't bad today. He wasn't bad at all. Dragusin was poor, Sarr was poor, and I thought Udogie was better than we've seen recently as well. He was better, but it wasn't like some fans they like a player to give stick to, in particular. And Romero recently rumoured with links, blah blah blah, and all that, right? Yeah. If Real Madrid aren't interested in Saliba or other players and all that shit. Right.
So what is it then, Adrian? You asked. So what is missing? Why are we so poor from the off? Because we've not started any game well. We've had to go a goal down in games in order to come back and start dominating games. What is it that we're doing wrong? There is something. There's a disconnect. I'm sure, for the life of me, right?
We aren't starting on the front foot. We're not starting on the front foot. I remember I think read that or Yo turned around and said, we talk about European games. When you see teams, they start off and the kickoff goes. I remember one game against Man United. Straight away got the kickoff. It went to fucking Neville on the left and he passed back to his gut. It was all slow. And then you could tell, virtually from the off, you could tell how the game was going to go. We're starting too slow.
Right.
Basically, we're starting too slow.
The thing is, though, right, Adrian, right, all of us on the panel can see that. Right, we can all see that we're starting too slow, right? Now, as a manager, if it was me as manager, you a manager, Ian manager, or Mark manager, it doesn't have to be Ange. If we start too slow and it's a repeated thing, what do I do?
Well, the first thing you do is when you look from my position in the stands, which is easy because I haven't got the line of sight of players have got. So
if you're a manager,
it's easy to me to say like that player should pass the ball to that player, but then I haven't got the line of sight that player's got at pitch level because I'm high up in the stand. So I don't want to be harshly critical of a player not making a pass, right? Especially like with their stats, they want their stats to look good anyway. They don't look bad about giving away the ball or losing.
Adrian, I think what Jose's getting at is you should be like shouting at the players.
What would
I think
you
that's
do?
what you'll get.
Yeah.
Shouting at the players.
No. What I'm getting at, Mark.
No.
When I'm watching some Spurs games we've won, right, at the stadium, even when we've won them, and people critique Romero being slow on the ball. Everyone, Van der Ven, Dragerson, gives him the ball. I say, are we slow to distribute it, right? Okay, fine, I get that. And I agree with that critique. I agree with it, but not in every case. When I'm looking at a pattern, because I'm seeing what you're not seeing on the TV, right? Where's the movement in front of him? Who's coming to receive the ball? If Basuma's playing, he should be the one in midfield that's coming to take the ball centrally. Because when you got the ball centrally, the whole picture opens up for you, left, right, and forward, right? Different to going out to a wing or something like that. So, like, to me, movement. And then when like you've got the front three, right? Where's the movement? There is a distinct lack of movement in this team.
Can I come
to me? Go on, Abe. Go on.
I haven't actually said anything for quite a while. First thing is, and the one thing I don't get is for people in the chat, maybe some of you'll know, I live in Scotland. I follow Celtic up here. When the job became vacant, Ange was very much my one and only choice for this job. And one of the reasons was the way his Celtic team played, which was high energy, high press, getting right at the opposition. I can remember a game, obviously, I think in the beginning of his second season against Rangers, where they were so in Rangers' faces, it was untrue. And Rangers just capitulated. And I don't see any of that with this Tottenham side. I mean, I see it maybe when we go a goal down. And like, for example, the beginning of that second half against Aston Villa or against West Ham. But I just don't get why his teams seem to be so conservative with a small c in the way they play, particularly at home and particularly when we start off.
Sorry.
I mean, just because about the Ange thing, I think again, to start, I think as AJ was saying, to start changing manager again and starting again is crazy. But, and there's a huge but, Ange has to start delivering. Now, I think while we're in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup, while we've got a really good chance of qualifying for the next round or the next stage of the Europa League, and while the FA Cup hasn't started, then I'm very much let's stick with this and see where it goes. But there does come a point, and these stats were on earlier, and I know Adrian's a big stats man. At the end of the day, that can't go on.
No.
Although there was another quote earlier, and I mean, I find it.
It's 58 games.
That's it. Look, if you look at that, we haven't been a consistent league side since 1961. So.
Oh, no, that's wrong. That's wrong.
So,
under Potts, we challenged twice for the title.
We came close in 1985, and we came close in 2006.
87 we came close as well.
Was it 87?
87.
When Everton won it.
No, 87 when Clive Allen scored 49 goals.
We weren't. No.
We finished second and third.
It was 85, Mark, when Everton.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, when Neville Southall. Some people, I didn't go, but some people will remember that game when Neville Southall made fabulous save after fabulous save, and maybe we win that game.
I was there. We lost 2-1.
Everton beat us. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, for those of us that are in our 60s, we have very, very rarely seen Tottenham put in a sustained title challenge. And even in 2016, when Leicester won it, we finished about 12 points behind them in the end.
Yeah.
All right, third in a 2-horse race. But it's not as if we got within 2 points and one victory here would have won us the title. So maybe we shouldn't be too hung up on league form, albeit I'm not excusing today, and focus on being what we've always been, which is a cup side.
Yeah.
Focus on the cups, because I tell you, the whole mood around the supporters changes completely if there's another cup. All right, if it's only the bloody Carabao Cup, it's a start.
I'd take the Egg and Spoon Cup at this rate.
Sorry?
I'd take the Egg and Spoon Cup at this rate.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with you, Ed. I mean, just like last season, the meltdown after we went out to Fulham. Right?
Yeah.
And we played you know what I mean? Me and you could have played in that game, even Jose. You know what I mean?
Oh, not me then.
No.
But for me, football's moved on, right? Football's moved on, but where I'm trying to get to, right, is, and this is what I was trying to get the answer to see what your guys' thoughts were. If I'm managing a team or I'm coaching a team, whatever it is, right, and we start off poorly, game in, game out, I'm going to go into my team and I'm going to tell them what they've done and what they're expected to do. I wouldn't then allow this to happen week in, week out, which seems to happen to Tottenham. We don't wake up. We don't come out on the front foot. So therefore, right, if the manager is doing what he's meant to be doing and he's saying this to the players and the players continuously do this, then it's either we've got players that can't do it or the fucking players are ignoring the manager and the coaching staff.
Or the squad isn't good enough, Jose. Or the squad isn't good enough.
The squad that we've got, Adrian, right? It's not good enough to win the league, but it's damn fucking better than a 10th place position.
It's good enough to beat fucking Leicester as well, Ipswich as well.
Yeah, but we'd have 10th place position. We're only 11 games in. We're only 11 games in. This is the difference as well. As much as I'm gutted about losing,
Adrian, we've played 11 games. We've won 5, drawn 1, lost 5. We've won as many as we've lost. It's embarrassing because there's only 3 teams worse than us on losses, and we share 5 losses with loads of teams. Now, we got a great goal difference of +10 and that. We're fucking 10th, and we should not be 10th. The squad that we've got, we should be 10th. I'm not saying we should be winning the league, but we shouldn't be 10th. Now, something is fundamentally wrong at the club. Right, whether it's the manager, the players, whoever it is, I'm not going to put my finger in it because I don't know, because I'm not inside the club. But there is something fundamentally wrong, which with the way that we don't play with commitment from the start of the game. Some players they're like fucking taps. They turn the tap off when they want to, on and off when they want to, and this is just not right. Now I know that we've got a deck of cards, i.e. the squad that we've got, and we've got to play with with the players we've got. And any manager you bring in will have to play. If you brought another manager in, they'll have to use the players that we've currently got as well. It's the same deck of cards you've got to use. But I'm all for Ange. I'm all for Ange staying, and I want him to stay. I want him to succeed, and I know it's going to be painful, right? Swap squad round and all that. But
okay, let me ask you all a question, right? Go on, let me finish. Let me ask you all a question, because to me it comes down to one with me, right? When you look at the best defenders we can put on that field, who's our best defender?
Romero.
Who's our best defender?
Yeah, who's our best defender?
Gary Mabbott.
Gary Mabbott.
Yeah.
Mark. Yeah.
That's a bit biased.
Who's our best defender in this squad?
I would probably say it's Romero, and I think Romero, we give Romero.
Mark, take the sensible pill. Who's the best defender in this squad?
Say that again?
I said to Mark,
he's
who's the best defender? No, who's the best defender in the squad?
I would say Van de Ven.
You see,
I'm Romero every day and twice on Sunday.
It's a
No,
trick
it's not.
question.
No, it's not. I'm just
Well, it
asking
is
you
because Van de
because
Ven is
like
not a great defender.
No.
He's got fabulous pace, but
Mm.
one-on-one tackles and stuff, he's not great. Porro is a wing back. Udogi's a wing back.
Yeah.
So today you got
£5,000 from Weymouth, Graham Roberts.
you're answering
Yeah.
a question about a defensive frailties, which I mentioned earlier in the podcast, right? I mean, like Ramirez by far. Now he took a bit of criticism. Actually, he wasn't too bad today, in my opinion. What he was doing. What did he do wrong? But what did Dragerson do wrong? What did Porro do wrong today? Right? I mean, Porro was in the areas where we conceded 2 goals. Right? Why weren't these defenders being proactive rather than reactive? Why were they looking around at each other? Right? Even with the overhead kick, Porro was involved in that. Right? He was involved in the other goal as well. You know, he doesn't seem to know what to do. He is suspect defensively. Now, don't get me wrong, technically, really good player when I've seen him play, but like he's just not got it. And like you're never going to win no leagues with a player if you haven't got a good defense, right?
So Adrian, where you so you're not on touch. You don't have.
This is the question, yeah. This is the question.
Do you have people attacking you? So when you're the part of the stadium that you're at, do you have people attacking you so you can see the attack? The right back. Can you see the fullbacks attacking from where you sit at you?
I see Porro at times. He's not even goal side. He's not even goal side of the opposing player. Which is okay if it works out well for you, but not okay.
It wasn't the defending I was just about to say. What I was going to say was today. What I noticed was, right, when we were chasing the game, right, Sonny and Brennan Johnson would come in, right, and there was no overlap from Porro. He wasn't getting beyond Johnson to cross the ball in. Now, I don't want to score all our goals from like lofting the ball in the air, but we've got a striker who's a demon in the air. Solanke's great in the air, but he doesn't get the service. Porro was not overlapping and crossing the ball in. On the other hand, Udogie was overlapping, but Udogie for me wasn't overlapping with intent. So when you know you're going to put the ball through to me, right, he wasn't overlapping with intent where he's going to run down that line and cross the ball in. Udogie, every time he got the ball, they showed me no intent because all he did was pass the ball back. He then recycled it backwards again and never crossed the ball in once. So for me, the system cannot work if you've got fucking players that won't do their jobs properly. They won't go down the byline. So do you know what I mean? So it's not just the defending, it's their attacking as well. Put it this way, Danny Rose, right, and Carl Walker, regardless of their ball control and ball skills, these players got down the wing, didn't they? You played the ball out to them, they'd be crossing the ball in. Yeah? So if we want to look at just them two, if you look at fullbacks in other teams, right, they cross the ball in. They've got the ability to play down the wing that they're playing and they'll cross the ball in. We don't seem to have the ability to do that. Now I've got people that are saying that maybe we should give Porro a try instead of Brennan Johnson on the right wing. Why would I want to give Porro a try? Porro don't cross the ball. So why would I want to give him a try?
No, right, Jose. You made a good point there about Walker and Rose. See, the thing was, when we had Poch, right, we also had Moussa Dembele and Wanyama, that when the fullbacks disappeared and ploughed forward to get the ball in for Kane or Son, we had the likes of Moussa Dembele or Wanyama who would step in to cover their positions. This is where Ange tactically is flawed, because none of our team do this when Udogie and bloody Porro go marching up the pitch. None of them. And this is why, if Ange was to leave tomorrow, which would be nice, I'd have Poch back in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
No, I know it's not going to happen.
Anyone thinks, listen, although it's a sad result and we're not doing as well as we expect, any Spurs fan out there that thinks Ange is going to be sacked is living in cloud cuckoo land. It's not happening. Just not happening. I'll take all bets. Right?
Would that be to the detriment of our team?
Right, but what I will say
it may or may not be, Mark. You may
Well, it
or may
will be.
not be
Well,
right.
it
I'm
will
not
be.
saying you're right or wrong, but like it's not happening, right?
But
The
but
bold.
what I will say about Poch,
all the word out there is they're backing him to the hill, right? Go
what I
on.
will say about Poch, right? And I understand what you're saying, Mark, but that was then. This is now. Poch
Yeah.
last season had a Chelsea team, right? Who did whatever they did last season. You've got that chap that's coming from Leicester. He's got exactly the same squad. Chelsea, what, a third or fourth? He's got them winning more game percentage, and he's got them scoring more goals and stuff like that. So people could turn around and say, "Well, Poch didn't really do it at Chelsea. This new manager is." Some people will turn around and say, "Poch didn't really do it at PSG, either." You know, since he left Tottenham, what has Poch gone on to do? Some people will turn around and say that Poch is no longer a club manager, hence why he's got to manage Argentina. You know, there's a lot
No,
of
it's
people that
America, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's America,
sorry,
isn't it?
America, yeah. So there's a lot of people that would be with you about Poch, but then there's equally a lot of people that would be away from
Yeah,
Poch
I
coming in as
understand
well.
that.
So, you know, at the end of the day, it is
Daniel's one of them by the looks of things.
What's that? What's that?
The comment.
No, I mean, the Poch isn't coming back. He's just taking
No.
a long-term contract.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I out of interest, someone made a comment in the earlier in the chat that it was Levy that vetoed bringing Poch back. As I understood it, it was Levy that wanted to bring him back and was persuaded, I'm assuming, by Donna Cullen not to bring him back. That I understood that it was that Levy wanted to bring Poch back. But anyway, listen, we are where we are, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah.
220, 38 seconds.
It's disappointing, though. It is disappointing. Today's been a disappointing day. And another fact that I'm going to leave you on, which people are not going to be happy about, is that we've had 5 international breaks or international
Right.
windows since Ange has been here, and Tottenham have never won the last game before the international break.
We've also lost 3 of the 4 games straight after our European games, despite the fact we've rested players.
Something's not right.
So let me ask you then, right? Are you Ange in? I am fully Ange in because I do not want to throw another manager under the bus. Don't get me wrong. With the club and Levy, I would love new owners. So, like, whether you class that as Levy or not, it's up to you. But I do not want an investor in this club. I do not want an investor. All the investor's going to do is save the club from borrowing money to build the hotel and build up the women's ground on the golf course, right? So, like, I am not into investors. They're just crap investors. The clues and the clues are an investor, isn't it?
I mean, Adrian, I'm still Ange in. As I said before,
I'm fully Ange.
He was my absolute first and only choice for the job. But to watch some of the things that we're doing and not start to have your own doubts would be beyond crazy.
Oh, I'm not happy.
I mean,
Don't get me wrong. I'm not happy, but I'm not like, oh, let's keep doing this. You know,
Can I just come back to
people with a different agenda that want Levy out, which has got nothing to do with the football inside? Well, it hasn't got something to do with the football inside the club. But I mean,
Can I just come back to what you said about Ange at Celtic, Ian? Just quickly before you, because you obviously want to wrap up. Ange at Celtic. This is. I know you said he played this fantastic football, but he walked into a club that are one of the 2 big clubs in Scotland. You know, and they have between them and Rangers, they have got the best players in the league. You know, they're one of the top 2 clubs in that league. You know, I mean,
Mark.
Oh, right.
Okay. The Rangers of the season before, under Steven Gerrard, finished 20 points ahead of Celtic. 20 points. Celtic were in disarray.
And so that's why the other manager got sacked.
For a historic 10 in a row.
Yeah.
Neil Lennon was the manager who took over after Brendan left to go to Leicester, and the club was just a mishmash. They were dreadful. Ange came in, and that's one of the things I was so supportive of him. Came in, revolutionised the way they played, brought in new players, won the league by 4 points, a 24-point swing. Well, I mean, Gerrard went to Aston Villa, but I don't think he'd have lasted very long at Rangers. and you see
No.
what happened. So that's why, David Clark's come in. I think it was 20, and he finished four ahead the following season. So he turned it round 24 points. So, there's method in my madness, Mark. I mean,
Yeah. And so do you think, though, that because Tottenham aren't in the top two clubs in the country, that Ange is like struggling a bit?
No, I think that I don't know that he's always being as true to his system as he wants to. I also think we're not playing the kind of way he wants to. I also think that he isn't getting the players he wants. Funnily enough, Werner is an Ange player. I mean, Werner is a real Ange player.
We're doomed then.
Pardon my, I'm sorry, he can't fucking finish. His ability to get into position.
The shot today
breathing of the game. It's so frustrating. I mean, he came on and he actually made it. He actually did make a difference when he came on, but he doesn't have enough of a difference to score. That two goals and change the game, and he's a hero. If he had finishing on him, he'd be a 70 million, 80 million pound player.
Yeah, my whole argument has been with Werner. Like I've said on so many podcasts, don't get me got Messi and Ronaldo on the wing. If they can't score goals, I don't want them in my team because you're never going to win a league. And it's so telling. It's so telling. I mean, now they're saying in rumours we'll let with Grealish and all this, right? Grealish is don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic footballer. How many goals does he score? Right?
Yeah, Grealish isn't a goal scorer.
I don't care. I mean, you don't score goals. You're a front three player. I don't want you in my team. I mean, you're a defender. You can't defend. I don't want you in my team. If it means you're a wing back, you're absolved from defensive responsibilities, I don't want you in my team.
Is this true, Ian?
Maybe I am.
Is this true, Ian?
Callum McGregor's no more of a six than he plays when he plays Bentancur or particularly Basuma. They play pretty similarly to the way Callum McGregor plays. And Callum McGregor is the six. He's, I think, the joint leading goal scorer in Scotland this season, and he's always scored goals. So,
what's interesting for me, Ian, is that you put a comment in my WhatsApp group after when Brighton played yesterday. It was a one-liner you put in there. That's why I wanted him. Yeah. Brighton. Remember the Brighton goal yesterday? When he scored, you put in my group.
O'Reilly, sorry.
You didn't say the name. You said that's why I wanted him. Now, what I was going to say to you is, right, Matt O'Reilly was bought by Brighton for 25 million, right? And I'm not going to have a go at anyone here, but we paid 40 million for Archie Gray.
Yep.
Right? But Matt O'Reilly was available for 25 mil. And I'm not picking on Archie Gray, and I'm not picking on any other midfielder, but someone like O'Reilly, who fits the system, Ian, because you watched him, fits the system. He is an Ange player to a T. Why is it that we didn't spend 25 million on Matt O'Reilly?
Yeah,
it's not as if he was there.
I'll play devil's advocate. When Ange left Celtic, there were some quotes that may or may not be accurate, where O'Reilly wasn't particularly complimentary about Ange.
Right.
So that may be the beginning, middle, and end of it. The two players I wanted last summer, who I thought were game changers, was Idzi at Palace and O'Reilly from Celtic. I thought they were game changers from us because they gave us something we don't have, which is a player that can create off that left-hand side, thread little balls and score goals. And O'Reilly that can play and run between the lines and get behind defences. And our midfielders don't do that, particularly when we're up against a low block. And you saw just how easily he scored. He scored against Manchester City yesterday. It doesn't have to be those exact players, but I don't think our recruitment is good enough. I think all our midfield players, probably with the exception of Maddison, who's underperforming, are all too similar.
I don't agree with that, Ian, actually.
Okay.
Basuma's very different to Bentancur. I thought has been outstanding. If all our players are fit and available, Bentancur's my first pick because he'll give you the graft, he'll progress us upfield and all that. And I just think he is I think it's a superb footballer, right? Maddison, we can say lightweight in certain games. Okay, then you hook him. You could play him and start him. And if you don't perform in the first half, you can hook him. Basuma, he is probably our best player at beating the press. He's got a quick turn of pace. He's not as quick as Bentancur. People might think he is. He isn't, right? And he can progress you. Second half against Galatasaray, he started to come into his own a bit too late, right? Then you look at Decky. Now Decky, all right, he's only just, to be fair, he's only just been moved in. And like, he's probably been our best player this season, right? I've always been a big fan of his, right? Really good. You look at Sarr. The last 3 games, I think Sarr's, for a 22-year-old,
has
shown a lot of maturity and he's been solid, right? I mean, he gave that through ball to Son against Everton, who Son was just inside their half to run on and score and all that, right? And he looks, what I like about Sarr is like he's composed. That's what we needed against Galatasaray, composure. And we didn't have it. You know, Bergvall, maybe he was in the wrong midfield 3, if we want to excuse him. But if not, at the moment, he ain't shown nothing. Whereas Gray has. Because Gray's shown, even against Matheus Nunes, against Man City, at right back, when he's played at left back, when he's played at centre back, he's shown that the step up from the Championship, he's coped okay. He ain't been outstanding, but he's coped well. And when you consider he's coped well in 3 different positions, I'm thinking like, and I always said it, I said like, he will be the one that gels quickly with the squad because he's come through the Championship, which is like, you know, a good test of any player to step into the Premier League. Whereas Bergvall, I like that player. There's a lot of him I like. He's more skillful, more technical and all that. But like, he hasn't proved he can do it in the Premier League.
No, not yet.
Great to me. Yeah, he's there now. He's there now, mate. Even though he ain't enough games, he's there for me. Bergvall isn't. Don't get me wrong. I really want Bergvall to succeed. But like, if he turns out to be a dud, get rid. You know.
So I'll ask you then, guys. We had high hopes for Bergvall. We still have, right?
Mm.
But what do Spurs stick or twist with him in January? Do they let him go out on loan, or do they keep him as a squad player because he's not getting any game time? So it appears that our team can go out on a pitch and be lackluster and need a rocket up their arse, or they need to go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, or whatever to start playing. And you don't see the youngsters be given a chance. So what are they going to do with Bergvall? Are they going to let him go out on loan? Because I think they're wasting him over at the moment because he's not getting
That's
any
an
opportunities.
excellent point, Jose. Unless he's been promised other things, because I've been thinking about this, right? So we get to January, right? At the end of the January transfer window, we have to decide who our European squad is, who's in the B squad and whatever. Obviously, Bergvall and Gray can't be included in that squad because they haven't done 2 years in the academy. So now you're in a situation where we're like, okay, what do you do? Do you say like, okay, most Spurs fans would say like, oh, dump Werner and bring Spence in, right? We can understand that because we got a fallback issue, right, in the team. But equally, like, would you dump Bergvall out of that squad? And the reason I say that is because we're only allowed 23 players in that squad because we haven't got 4 academy-trained players that have done the 3 years in the academy, right? So we're punished by having 2 less than our European squad. So we got 23 instead of 25. But my angle is, now I don't know the rules, guys. If you do in the chat, and I've tried to research this, and I can't find an answer for it, right? Do you then say, Bergvall will push you out of the European squad right? And then it allows a space to bring a European player in, right, to take his place, right? Or are we in a position where, although we haven't had enough academy trained players, I think we've got 2, that's why we're too short in the European squad, right? Are we now in a situation where, right, the academy players on the B list that have only had 2 years, have we got 1 or 2 that have now got 3 years under their belt by the time we get to January? Sorry if I'm confusing you guys in the chat, but it's important because
So the answer is: do we loan him out or do we keep him in the first team?
no, that's not the answer to me. The issue with me is if
forget about the issue. What would you do?
No. This is important because if we get to January and the rules allow us to increase our Euro squad to 25, because say we got 2 in the Academy B list that have done their 2 years, now they've reached 3 years. Well, now we can add them as academy trained players. So now we've got 4 instead of 2. So now we can have 25 in a squad, which means we could bring European players in. Do you get where I'm coming from or not?
Yeah, and I'm sure that won't happen. It's at the start of the year. It goes
but
by
is that allowed under the rules?
No.
What I don't know is that allowed under the rules?
No, it's at the start of the year. You have to be 18 or 21 and played 3 years or whatever it is by a certain year, by 2000 and whatever. So, and that moves on 1 year
To
after
be
another.
academy trained, you have to be 3 years with your academy, right?
But it doesn't go by your birthday or anything like that. It has to be a whole year. So
No,
the
3
rule
years
for
with
this
your
year,
academy.
yeah,
right?
but for the rule for the UEFA squads or whatever would have been you have had to have played 3 years fully, right? Doesn't matter when your birthday falls, 3
And
years
to
fully.
be on the B list,
And then you have to wait till the following season for that to tick over another year. Doesn't
well,
matter
I
about
don't know that rule. I don't know that rule. But for the B list for academy players, you have to be 2 years on that list to qualify. And this is why Gray and Bergvall don't qualify. Although we've brought them in, they've not been with our academy for 2 years, right? We bought them in as signings.
Right. So, Mark, are you loaning him out or are you keeping him at the club?
Who?
Bergvall.
Personally, I think he needs a loan and Archie Gray because they're not getting much game time, are they?
I would probably be tempted to loan Bergvall. I wouldn't loan Gray. I think Gray's shown
What's
enough.
the point? Well, I'm not being funny, Adrian, but what's the
But
point?
you don't have subs, Mark. You actually have to have
Well,
players
yeah.
you bring in and
Yeah.
squads.
It's just an opinion. They're young players. They're not really going to. Well, unless they really hit their straps, they're not going to really make a deep impression with Ange. I mean, he obviously likes the players. But I mean, Gray, I think, yeah, he's going to be fine. Bergvall.
This is what I was saying. This is what I was saying earlier, Adrian. This is where the recruitment at the club is an absolute joke. Because instead of bringing in ready-made players that I was screaming all summer about on our transfer shows and all that we did in the summer, I was saying it's all right bringing in all these youngsters, but you need someone to come in to claim that shirt as mine. That's going to improve our first team straight away, right? We built a £1 billion, as I've said multiple times on this show, we built a £1 billion stadium to compete with the best, not by a load of kids.
Well, yeah, I would loan Bergvall. But look, we could talk for hours here. Adrian, you've got another show coming Tuesday, so I'm thinking. I think we should probably wrap it fairly shortly. I think Daniel. I think the boy's 18.
He looks good. I'll give him that.
You can't write a boy off at 18.
No.
I think he probably needs to go to the Championship or something like that.
He did look good against Bayern Munich, and actually it was a game which Gray got bullied. Actually, he did look good. I mean, there's a player there, but like he's got to show it at the level of the Premier League level, and he hasn't done it as yet. I think Gray, because he's come through the Championship, I think Gray's going to be fine. He'll be fine for us. Wherever he ends up in what position in the squad, whatever. But I think Gray will be fine. I want Bergville
Oh, he's frozen.
club and succeed.
All right, David's point. Well, David's point is right there. You know,
I'm
the
certainly not
36
saying
was an
that.
academy. It's not. It's absolutely right. You know,
He's right. He's totally right.
We have to find established players to
Yeah.
come in. If it's just going to be about buying kids and hopefully that they'll come good in the next 4 or 5 years, then no, it's not a strategy. It's not a strategy that I can back. It's not a strategy that we were promised either.
No, I'm certainly not saying that. Hang on a minute. I was right. I'm certainly not saying that. Right. I've been moaning and moaning and moaning about like we brought all these kids in and no experienced first teamers. It's all right bringing the kids in if you bring experienced first team players in at the same time.
Brilliant, Graham. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, do you know what? I will say,
players that are under 23 in our squad.
Jose back. Jose, are you there? Are you?
Yeah.
Around?
What did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Yeah. No, it's all right. You look like you froze for a bit.
Did you tell the people about your? Did you tell the people about your prediction, Ian?
My prediction.
Did you tell the people about your prediction yet?
I predicted Chelsea won, Arsenal won.
No.
So did I.
No, the Tottenham scored. Did you tell people you got that?
I predicted Tottenham 1, Ipswich 2.
You fucking traitor! You traitor!
Well, I said earlier, I don't know, you were around. It was 9-1 at the bookies, and I couldn't bring myself to put a fiver on. I get back at betting against my own team. I couldn't put my money where my mouth was, but I just had a feeling we were going to go down today. It's just because it's the way we do things.
It's who we are, mate.
It's just the way we do things.
It's who we are, mate. It's who we are, mate.
Yeah, it is who we are. It is who we are.
Mate,
right.
you got to add mate onto it. You got to add mate on the end.
Jacket.
No worries, guys. We've got Roma next and we've got Man City away and Roma. No worries.
So we don't beat Man City. Is Ange? That's another loss. Is there any more pressure on Ange?
We always get a result against Man City.
I wonder what their social media's like. I wonder what their YouTubers are like. Pep out.
Who cares?
Yeah. Hey, get those.
He's lost 4 games.
Out, hey?
He's lost 4 games on the spin or something. But I think
the difference that we've got, in all honesty, is that Man City win things every year for the last 15 years or so. Therefore, them losing 3 games on the spin, they're not going to go into hard. But the fact that we lose games and we haven't won any for years, that's why people are going hard.
I think Pep's got a little bit of credit in the bank. Just a little bit. A tiny little bit.
You're wrong there, Mark.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Right, I need my breakfast because we might be going on. England are 94 for 1 after 10. Phil Salt, having got 100 yesterday, was out.
I'll see you guys in the back room, right?
Chasing. Yeah, and listen.
What are they chasing, Ian?
I'm a traitor. You see, you've outed me now.
What are they chasing? What are England chasing?
As soon as the camera's off, you can put your Ipswich.
What are England chasing, though? What are England chasing?
I'm going to get my tracker out, I tell you.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Read and I can't write, but I can drive a tractor. That's what they say, eh?
I didn't realise you were from Somerset.
All right, Jose.
Been a good show, guys. Good show.
It has. Jose, you're back on tomorrow, are you, for the results show?
I'm doing the league as you were talking. I'm still doing all the permutations and that now.
So if you don't come on to El Tel Cockerel, I'm sure there's a fair number of your subscribers on here watching you. Jose always hosts a great show. Mark, one of our admin team, I suspect you'll be on Tuesday. On Spurs Diehards.
Yes. Hang on,
if you haven't liked and subscribed, boys and girls in the chat, please do. I did wonder if it would be really toxic tonight, and in fairness, it's been
only slightly.
It's been anything but some really, really good comments. The stuff in the chat, the objective comments, or what have you. Roma sack another manager. Yeah, they're dross. We should beat them in a couple of weeks.
What'd you get, Daniel?
What was that?
Daniel's put a comment in there that says, "I think I know my points, Jose." So I'm just
Oh,
saying,
well.
how many did you get then, Daniel?
I don't know what I think I got 3 correct scores, so that's 9 plus anything else.
Yeah, I've got 9. I don't know on the. There's one game I'm not sure, and it's
Yeah,
the
I think I got. Daniel says he got about 17, Jose.
I'll tell you if he's right, or only if he's right. If he's right, I'll say yes. If he's not, then I won't. I'll say no.
Can I just say I'm joint top of the online one now. Graham's
I know
called
you
me
are.
up.
Because you
I know
keep
you
saying that, Mark. Actually,
Yeah.
I was manager.
I'm waiting on Milan Napoli, but I've got 9 points at the moment.
I was manager of the month last month.
Ange out, Cousins in.
Yeah.
Right, right. Daniel, you did get 17, but you were beaten. Someone got more than that.
It wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you.
Definitely wasn't me.
I know
I'm
I've got
not
my
in
9. I might have got 12 or something, I think, but you may as well.
Nathan
Here we
Wagon
go.
says about 17. That's how many managers. We'll have to say. We'll have to say. Ange.
Yeah, everyone join Chosey. Let's get your
Yeah.
subs up. I'm not bothered about our subs, actually. They'll come accordingly. They'll come.
So
right.
there's been 20 of you all in the chat, and it's been a different 20. So we've obviously had some good numbers watching. As I say, thank you everybody. Adrian,
thanks,
you're back
everyone.
on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Jose,
Yeah.
what
We'll
time
probably
tomorrow night?
we'll do
4 o'clock
this
tomorrow.
And, what else we'll talk about, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'll think of something.
I will be back next Sunday, maybe, if there's anything to talk about. Otherwise, because I've tried to line up.
Well, we've got the international break now from the 10th to the 18th. So
yeah, if there's nothing to do, I'm not coming on just to talk
no,
about
just to waffle.
crap.
No.
But I know Adrian will be on Tuesday, Jose tomorrow. But
Ian,
thanks everybody.
all I
Thanks
can
to
tell
my
you,
panel.
all I can tell you at the moment, Ian, is that you've gone up 2 places in the league.
I have.
Yes, that's all I'm going to tell you at the moment. You've gone up 2 places.
That's better than a kick in the arse.
No.
Anyway, thanks again, everybody. I'm not playing out any music.
No.
It just doesn't feel like singing "Glory, Glory, Hallelujah" or
Dreams of Desire ain't worthy tonight.
or anything like that tonight. Maybe next time. So
see you guys in the
everybody,
back room.
See you next time.
Take care, everyone. Bye.